has been scheduled for March of next year. Anyone affected by this can of course contact the Samaritans free of charge on 116 123. Elsewhere, Premier League clubs will vote next month on a new PSR system. The proposal would mean club spending on transfer and wages would be limited to 5 times the amount the lowest club gets from broadcast revenue and prize money. As things stand, that would roughly mean a £550 million limit, but Simon Jordan says Premier League owners should just be trusted to run their clubs.
They shouldn't need someone on high, some arbitrary force telling grown-up businessmen how they should run their businesses. And I think we've got an unprecedented runaway success in the Premier League that hasn't produced any casualties. The only place that's having problems is the EFL.
Kevin Muscat is the new favourite to take over at Rangers after Danny Röhl became the 3rd name to rule himself out. Meanwhile, our chief football correspondent, Alex Crook, has an update from Celtic.
Brendan Rodgers is out of contract at the end of the season, and as I've been making inquiries about what might happen at Ibrox, I have just been hearing a lot of whispers that maybe Brendan Rodgers could decide at the end of the season not to renew his deal.
George Ford has told talkSPORT that R360 has been turning heads in the Gallagher Prem. That's despite him refusing the league for a new deal at Sale. However, the fly half says it could be time for England to let their players compete for overseas clubs.
Rugby's a tough old physical game, and it takes a lot of sacrifice, and there's a hell of a lot of serious injuries in the game at the minute, so you want to maximise your time playing the game, of course you do. So I think that's something that needs to be considered in the future.
And former West Ham forward Sai Benrahma has been fined 12 grand. That's for letting his 2 XL bullies escape from his East London home and attack a golden retriever. The court heard the owner of the victim dog suffer grazes to his arms and legs after grappling with Benrahma's dogs on the ground.
Good evening. This is Kick-Off on talkSPORT. I'm Natalie Sawyer, and alongside me it is the former Liverpool and Arsenal winger Jermaine Pennant. Now, coming up, we're going to be discussing England. Are they ready to win the World Cup? And can Thomas Tuchel really afford to leave out the big names if they are to have any chance? We'll get Jermaine's thoughts on whether England can end their silverware drought in North America next summer. Also tonight, we'll build up to all the Premier League action as it returns after this latest international break. We'll dip into both ends of the Championship as we discuss High Flyers Coventry and the latest troubling episode at Sheffield Wednesday. And we'll also discuss whether the out-and-out winger is a dying art. Thankfully, I have the right person to discuss the topic with me, sitting right next to me here in the studio. So much for us to get through, and of course we do want to hear from you. This is your chance to have your say on all the matters we discuss. 03717 223344. That's the number to call us on to join us on Kick-Off on talkSPORT. Jermaine.
Hello, Natalie. It's been a while.
It's been a while. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah?
Oh, good.
Busy?
Trying to be busy.
Yeah, well, at least it keeps you out of mischief.
Them days are over.
Good. Great to have you with us, and I think we've got an action-packed show for our listeners this evening. And we're going to start by discussing England, as we've mentioned, who have made it through to their 8th consecutive major tournament after a comfortable 5-0 win over Latvia in Riga.
England's place in next summer's World Cup can be cemented here and now.
It's a very special moment. It's not daily business to qualify for World Cups.
Here's Gordon running quickly towards the edge of the penalty area. Right-footed effort is a beautiful goal.
That's my biggest goal in life, to play the World Cup for England. This one I've dreamed of as a kid.
Yeah, overall just happy to add to the team again today, and not just the goals, but the all-round game.
Kane runs up, hits it into the bottom left-hand corner. It's 3-0 to England. Dust off your passports, pack your suitcases. England are on their way.
Never take these things for granted. Celebrate like it's your first one, and then we move forward.
It's been incredible, the press. That side of the game's been magnificent.
England are scoring goals. They're keeping clean sheets. These are very good habits to get into in a World Cup year.
We will not stand still. We will try to improve and get everything going in November.
Rashford checks his second run. It's good goal, 5-0. Brilliantly He's played 6, won 6, scored 19, conceded none. The future is bright.
Nicely summed up by everyone involved with England here on talkSPORT. But it has been a fantastic qualifying campaign, and England are the first European team to book their place in that World Cup of 2026. So I suppose the question for you, Jermaine, is should we be excited by this England team?
I think so. I think when Tuchel came in, there's a lot of murmurs of is he the right man and he's being German.
Yeah.
And I think the performances have told us that he is the right man. You know, under Southgate, we'd play these games that we've won recently, 4s and 5s. But I think under Gareth Southgate, we'll probably dominated the game, but it would have been a ball 2-0.
Right.
And fans would have, been on the airways going, I was bored, we're not good enough, we should be punishing these teams. And now Tuchel's got them playing in that manner, being ruthless, being exciting, attacking goals, and that's what we love, especially when we're playing teams who should be, beating on these levels of scoreline and dominating. And we are seeing that now. Last 2-3 games scored 5 goals, before that 4. So we are looking like that team who's going to be dominant, who's going to be ruthless in front of goal, and that's what we're going to need when we're playing against teams in the World Cup. When we get the chances over the past, we haven't put them away, and now we're looking like we're going to be ruthless in front of goal, which we've all been crying for.
Yeah, ruthless in front of goal and pretty decent at the back too, having not conceded a single goal, which is pretty impressive.
Yes, we can say, look, you got to beat what's in front of you, and teams will get chances here and there, and then you will, sometimes take your foot off the gas, and there will be harder tests coming up against us. We did lose at Forest Ground against Senegal, but that was in his early tenure. And now I think the players have understood how he wants to play, his philosophy, his style, and they're looking better and better with each game. So, like I said, there will be difficult tests ahead, but from what I'm seeing now, I'm very, very positive going into the World Cup.
It's interesting you mentioned that about obviously the early stages of his leadership, his management, if you like. There were some good victories. I mean, 3-0 over Latvia at Wembley, not bad, but 2-0 against Albania, 1-0 in Andorra, 2-0 against Andorra at home. Those were the kind of early games where we were all questioning, we're not quite seeing this exciting England that we're seeing. But that was because it was early stages, perhaps. Is that what you're suggesting?
Well, absolutely. Like, a manager can't come in and, these players have been playing under 8 years of a certain style of football under a certain manager. And a new manager coming in, he can't just turn things overnight, especially when you haven't got them every week, every day for training. They meet up ever so often. So it's going to take longer than, your club manager would have. So we are now seeing that change. We are now seeing his style and what he's been saying all along, and the players believing in that, when he's giving some of these youngsters and some of these players a new lease of life as well. And it's exciting.
What about the squad as it is at this present moment? Are you excited about that? Bear in mind, there was some big name omissions from it as well, but the current squad that we have, are you excited about just those individuals in that team so far?
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, we've got some quality players to still come back. Cole Palmer, Foden when he's firing, Jude Bellingham. So there is a lot of players to come back. And if you look at
do you think they've got a fight on their hands now?
Well, that's only benefiting England.
Yeah, I know that.
Of course, I don't think the performance that England are putting so far, I don't think anyone, as though, apart from the obvious, Pickford, who's going to be, and some defenders, Mark Gay and Stones, are really going to say, right, yeah, that's my position. I think the rest have now got to prove and earn the right to have that position. And if that's what we've got for our national team, then that's a good problem to have. That's a very good problem for Tuchel to have. When we look at going forward in midfield, we've probably got 2 players in each area who can do a good job, who can, if they're starting, you go, okay, yeah, I'm happy with that. Like for like. So I think going forward as a whole, we're very, very, very strong and probably, up there with the favourites.
Well, that number 10 role in particular, I think the competition for that. That's going to be exciting, and who he ends up picking, certainly on a game-to-game basis. But let's just hear a little bit more from talkSPORT's England presenter Adrian Durham, and also the former England captain Stuart Pearce, who discussed Thomas Tuchel's starting 11 and said some top talent will have to miss out.
You're talking about somebody who's a very well-educated coach, a coach with experience as well, knows what he's doing. It was almost like he was saying to Thomas Tuchel, tell you what, I'll take the hit here. I'll put all these players in. It probably won't work, but I don't mind because I'm not in the job on a permanent basis. But it will show people, I'm pretty sure this conversation didn't happen, but basically it will show people you can't cram them all in. And that's exactly what it proved.
Yeah, it certainly did. And every team has got someone they call an ugly duckling in there that does unselfish work that people don't actually see. But we've put our ugly duckling in Elliot Anderson, and I don't ever want to be quoted on that statement. And he's actually been our best player.
He's a good-looking duckling.
Isn't he just?
He is. I can't see him losing his place in the 11, can you?
Well, put it this way. He's gone in there. There was, Walton was ahead of him a year ago. The game changes very, very quickly. Make no mistake about that. And he's taken his chance. And what you've got to do when you wear an England shirt, you've got to take your chance. And you've got to send a message to the manager after every game. I'm playing well enough that you cannot leave me out. And I think there's competition for places here. And I think Tuchel's shown that if he's not happy with something, whatever that may be, he's happy to leave you out the team or maybe even out the squad. And we got some talent not even in the squad at the moment.
Elliot Anderson, an ugly duck.
Oh, poor Elliot. Elliot, I think you're an attractive guy. You're an handsome fella.
I tell you what, though, he has blossomed in this England team. You go back to the beginning of the year, he wasn't really a name mentioned. Obviously, in the summer even, he was playing for the under-21s as opposed to the senior side. Yeah, he has walked into this team, and I mean walked into the starting 11. And it does feel like they were saying there that at this present moment, he's undroppable.
Yeah, you've got to take it a little pinch of salt. The team and the standard we've played. We've dominated every single game, rightly so, and the test has not really been a tough one. Mm-hmm. But still, you've got to, play the game. You've still got to be the best player on that pitch, and he's been doing that. And yeah, I think Piercy was right. With Walton was probably ahead of him at one stage. He's fell into a little injury himself, and then now he's coming back to proper playing time and fitness, and he's going to try and make a claim for that spot as well. But he's took it with both hands. When the opportunity arises, you've got to take it, and he's been doing that. And like I said, when you come up against opposition, you only put out your best and do your best. Doesn't matter who you're playing against, and he's doing that.
So let's just assume that Anderson, because Thomas Tuchel does wax lyrical about him, if he retains his place, that means, does he stick alongside Declan Rice? Then what does that mean for Jude Bellingham? Yep. Adam Wharton can still be a serious contender as well. I mean, there's lots of questions to be asked, and only Thomas Tuchel can answer them. But how do you see it playing out?
Well, I think Rice has to play. He will play no matter what.
Okay. So he's going to be like the number 8 role.
Yes, that's where personally I would like to see Rice, because that's where he's playing for Arsenal, and that's where he's flourishing for Arsenal, and he's like got that little new lease of life of going forward, and he's got that capability of charging forward. So I'd like to see Rice there and Elliot Anderson as the 6,
right?
And then right now it's a toss up for that 10 spot. Jude's coming back from an injury, Cole Palmer injury as well.
Yeah.
Eze right. So it's
Morgan Gibbs-White.
Right. So it's unbelievable the amount of midfielders attacking options there is. I don't think anyone would probably, if there was a name in England squad right now, I don't think anyone would get the same team. There would be players of different.
Did you even mention Morgan Rogers?
I didn't even mention Morgan. Morgan, if you're listening, I sincerely apologise.
But that's because there's so many great players for that role, yeah.
And we're not even talking about the strikers in the wide right or left, so there's just so much to choose from. It's more of the defensive side of players of where it starts thinning out.
Yeah, so in a way, as good as we all feel it will be Stones and Gahey as that preferred centre-back pairing, but after that, Konza obviously has played brilliantly when he has done for England of late. After that, though, are we starting to scratch around? Because Levi Colwell's been injured and probably unlikely to be in contention as well. I know you've got Burn as a possible option too, but yeah, it does feel that maybe the centre-back, maybe to an extent the full-backs as well, is a bit of an issue.
Yes, I think we've had an issue left-back for God knows how long. And if Skelly is not fit, Then we've got Jed Spence, or is it Jed Spence and Skelly? So again, that position there is still up for grabs. With Reece James, we know about how he's injury prone, and then Trent, is he going to be selected? So, those areas, yes, it's thin. Like I said, Dan Burn can come in, but again, that's your fourth, probably centre back pairing, or that's who you put him in the ranking. You've got Stones and Gay number 1 and 2, and then you start dribbling down the players list there.
And who do you think is the Harry Kane understudy at the moment? That's also a little bit of a difficult one. It's, Ollie Watkins, we thought at one stage might have been, he's not quite hit, top level action that we would expect from him this season. Marcus Rashford obviously can play in that sort of role too, but who do you see as that sort of...
For me, I think it would have to be Ollie Watkins. I don't want to see him try and put players out of their favoured position just to fill a gap. I'd rather you get a striker. Get a number 9 player, not get a number 9 there. I think Rashford likes his football, and you get the best out of him on the flanks. So you keep him there, and Watkins is, he has played a couple of games and he scored a couple of goals. So at the moment, the best English striker out there, obviously you've got Tony, but he's in Saudi, and how does Tuchel view that? So for me at the moment, it would have to be Ollie Watkins to the understudy of Harry Kane.
Oh, listen, these are the debates that are going to be raging until that World Cup squad is announced. Who will make that final 26-man squad? It'd be interesting to get your thoughts on it. And I'm sure we've missed a heck of a lot of players out already in talking about it. We haven't even got on to someone like a Jack Grealish, have we? And what his potential could be. Bear in mind how good a start really he's had at Everton. So why not get in touch and let us know if you think England are ready to win the World Cup. Not easy, of course, to do it in North America and away from European soil, but we'd love to hear from you. 03717 223344. You're tuning in to Kick Off with Ladbrokes. It's 18 and over. BeGambleAware.org. morning. You are tuning in to Kickoff on talkSPORT with the former Liverpool and Arsenal winger Jermaine Pennant and me, Natalie Sawyer. Now, if you want the chance to win up to £100,000, you better be listening up right now. That's right. It's our biggest cash prize to date, and it has landed. We're all going in on this one, and we're giving you the chance to win then. That 100 grand, completely tax-free. You might want a pen and paper for this one, just to jot down all the details on how to enter.
18 plus UK excluding Northern Ireland. For a chance to win, text the word cash to 83338 and you're in the draw. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You must have the bill payer's permission, or you can enter for free by calling 0330 880 3338. All entries must be received by the 6th of November at 4 p.m. This is a talkSPORT limited promotion run on talkSPORT, Talk and Virgin Radio UK stations. Full terms and conditions at talksport.com.
OK, we're going to continue our discussion on England in just a moment, but right now it's time for us to bring you the latest odds from Ladbrokes.
Odds update on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
And looking ahead to some of the weekend's action as the Premier League and Championship returns. So I've just picked out a couple of games or a couple of things to note. Middlesbrough against Ipswich, of course, tomorrow night is live on talkSPORT from the Championship. That on talkSPORT 2 that you can tune into. And Middlesbrough are priced 17-10 to win that one, whereas Ipswich are a 6-4 price. And the draw, well, that will be 23-10 if you think the spoils will be shared. What about the Championship title and the winner overall? Well, it's Coventry who lead the way currently in this sort of still early stages of the Championship season, but they are a best price 15-8 now to win the title, followed by Ipswich at 5-2. So a return to the Premier League for them possibly. And Middlesbrough, you can get sevens on them to win the Championship. There's a huge game coming up on Sunday in the Premier League, which sees Liverpool taking on Manchester United, old enemies. Renewing their rivalry then. Liverpool, well, they're the favourites for this one. They're actually 5-3 on to win at Anfield, whereas at Manchester United you can get 19-5 to win this one, and a draw is 10-3. So just a sample of some of the selections on Ladbrokes. That's the latest odds. It's 18 and over. BeGambleAware.org.
Odds update on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
All right, let's continue our discussion on England and actually hear from the man at the helm who has been speaking about his side's progress. Thomas Tuchel still, though, thinks there's room for improvement.
I'm not so well prepared for the next months, I have to say. Everything as a coach, we gave everything now for these two matches. I have no plan for the next camp, and for sure not for the World Cup up my sleeves. So we will take our time. Now we take 2-3 days and enjoy the special feeling, and it is a special day, a special achievement. And yeah, there's always stuff to improve. There are not negatives per se, I would say, but there's always stuff to improve within the games, within the organization, within like how we set things up. We will revise this camp like we always do next Monday, I think, in St. George's Park, and then take the next step forward. We will not stand still. We will try to improve and get everything going in November.
Yeah, 2 more qualifiers to come in November, but essentially dead rubbers in the sense of the job is already done. But they host Serbia on the 13th at Jermaine, followed by a trip to Albania to round things off. How important is it that England, in a way, carry on that momentum? So in a sense, the sort of momentum they've built over the last couple of camps, which even Thomas Tuchel himself had said was a big factor as to why he kind of kept that continuity going. How hard is it to keep that momentum going when the job is done?
Yeah, this is where you've got to be a good leader. And the manager just steps in and says, right, I don't want you to take the foot off the gas. I know we're through, but I don't want to see no complacency. Everyone's place is at risk here. And that gives the players a decision to make. Do they like, oh, we're through, this doesn't really matter? Or do they go out there and go, right, even though we're through, I've still got to put in a top performance. I've still got to play for my place. And I think you probably go down that route, making sure everyone's on their toes and going into every single game now into the World Cup, knowing that places are at stake here. And that will keep that belief that will keep that momentum, that rhythm that they've got at the moment.
Obviously, this discussion has sparked interest from Jim, the Sunderland fan, who joins us this evening to have a little chat. How are you doing, Jim?
I'm doing fine. Yourself, Natalie?
Yeah, very, very well. Are you excited about this Thomas Tuchel England now?
Oh, I am. I was excited about his appointment right from the start.
Okay.
I was just saying when I called in, he reminds me of Alf Ramsey. He's this kind of mental space that he's coming from, you know, about the sort of building the team. I mean, I was coming up from town the other day in the bus and picked up one of those free newspapers, and this quote from him really impressed me, right? He said, I watched a documentary with the New England Patriots, and there was a quote, we don't collect the best players, we make a talented team. And I believe that that's what Alf Ramsey did, and I also believe that that's what Thomas Tuchel is doing.
I'll tell you what, of all the managers to pick Sir Alf Ramsey, if he can do what Sir Alf Ramsey did, I think we'd all be very, very happy, wouldn't we, Jim?
Yeah. And I think he would. I mean, if you look back to South, what to me, what Tuchel's doing now is there's a lot of well-known players, stars, you know, like what's his name at Real Madrid?
Bellingham. Jude, that fellow at Real Madrid, just that, yeah, his name Jude.
I mean, he's a fantastic player. There's no doubt about that, right? But I've always questioned his temperament. And I remember, well, I don't remember, but I think it was in the last European finals. There was one time we were just in their half, we were attacking, and he got tackled, and he didn't. While they were busy attacking us, which resulted in a goal. That is not the attitude that Tuchel wants. And I think he's shown that by getting together a group of players that have got the right attitude. Hopefully, people like Bellingham and that will say, hang on a minute, I need to change my mind on the field. Do you know what I mean?
We hear you, Jim, and it's a good call. We appreciate what you're saying. I mean, there is a part of me that thinks that there is an issue there, obviously, with Bellingham in the sense of he did, and I know Thomas Tuchel won't want to be reminded of the fact he called him repulsive, or certainly said his mother thinks his antics are repulsive. He did obviously backtrack and apologise for that, we should say. But there obviously are, like Jim has said there, people who spot certain traits of Bellingham that not everyone likes, although at the same time, you could echo, well, maybe that's just because he's got that arrogance, but in the right way arrogant. He wants to win. He's the serial winner. That's what he wants to do.
Yeah, he's a young lad with old shoulders. He wants to, like I said, win. And we've got to take in mind that if it wasn't for Jude Bellingham, would have got through out of the quarters. True. You know, with that late overrated kick, you know, special moments, and how many times has he done that for England? Scored late goals to keep us in the game. He is just a player who is grown into the game, and he knows his capabilities, and he wants to do the best for his country. And when decisions, we've all been there, all players have been there, when decisions don't go our way, we will show it on the pitch and, you know, throw our hands in the air. Or I don't think I've ever seen Jude not try and fight for whether he plays for, whether it's England, whether it's Real Madrid.
Right.
You see him running non-stop. You see him putting in challenges. And that's just his character when things ain't going well or a decision hasn't gone his way, that he shows the frustration on the pitch and within himself.
Just briefly then, for you, is he a cert? He has to be in the final England squad?
Without a shadow of a doubt. Anyone saying anything different, I've lost their minds.
Okay. Lots more to come on England. It is a fascinating topic, certainly. And it does, the fact that England have got the job done makes it a little bit easier that we can talk about it so freely. And all these wonderful questions, as I said before, that we have to ask and wonder who will make that final 26-man squad when Thomas Tuchel has to name it next year. But up next, we'll be speaking to Dom Smith from The Standard. How many England players or places are guaranteed in that England squad already? That's one of the questions we'll put to him. You're listening to Kick Off with Ladbrokes. It's 18 and over. BeGambleAware.org.
coroners have indicated the late, great Ricky Hatton took his own life. An inquest in Manchester has heard the boxing champion was found unresponsive at his home by his manager, Paul Speake, last month. They were due to fly to Dubai that day to promote a comeback fight. Anyone affected by this can contact the Samaritans for free on 116 123. Now, Premier League clubs are expected to vote on alternatives to PSR, including a spending limit on transfers and wages. But Simon Jordan wants as little regulation as possible around the business of football.
All you're going to do is allow these other leagues to bridge the gaps, to widen their opportunities.
We're hearing talk from Celtic that Brendan Rodgers could leave for a second time at the end of this season. Our chief football correspondent Alex Crook says that could lead to a managerial merry-go-round south of the border.
Because Oliver Glasner at Palace is coming to the end of his contract. Marco Silva and Andoni Iraola, very sought after by some top clubs. You would think all of those trio would be interested in a manager with the CV of Brendan Rodgers.
Onto the oval ball now, and George Ford has told talkSPORT the new breakaway franchise league R360 is making lads consider their future in the game.
It is spoken about, look, from a financial point of view, it is significantly different.
The fly half has signed a new 3-year deal at Sale Sharks to avoid being banned from playing internationals.
Yeah, this is to kick off this Thursday evening on talkSPORT with the former Liverpool and Arsenal winger Jermaine Pennant and me, Natalie Sawyer. Just some headlines for you. The Everton goalkeeper Jordan Pickford has signed a new 4-year contract with the club. He's played all 7 Premier League games for Everton so far this season, keeping 2 clean sheets. Aston Villa have released a statement confirming that no Maccabi Tel Aviv fans may attend their UEFA Europa League match at Villa Park. That's on Thursday, November the 6th, following an instruction from the Safety Advisory Group. And a talkSPORT dugout survey has found that the FA is not doing enough to combat abuse towards referees, whilst additionally 84% suggest referees are not shown the right level of respect from players, coaches and supporters at grassroots level. So, that's just grassroots level, Jermaine. But obviously you might also suggest at times in the professional game there are the odd moment where a player might remonstrate against a referee's decision, for example.
Rightly so.
Well, I was going to say, was that kind of what you would do back in your day of playing?
Well, I don't think there's that softer referees back then. No, I think, referees, but I'm thinking when they're playing, they used to kind of give you some as well. They would tell you to shut up and get on with it. Yeah. And you would you'd respect it. Where I think the game's gone a little bit west. It's not as what it was. I get with the fans, and they can go over the top. But within the professional game, we're allowed to show our frustration when they get a decision which is totally false or wrong, which everyone can clearly see. So you're allowed to show that frustration, and we're not teenagers. We're grown adults here. So a little bit of foul language is not going to hurt anybody.
But how do we teach respect then if some players are a little OTT on it?
The respect is it's just once you cross that line and emotions are high. But I'm sure after the game, half time, the respect's here, the mutual respect. You speak to the ref and he will say, "Look, I got something wrong. I apologise." That's him showing respect. And then we'll go, I apologise for the way I reacted. I was just a little heated in the moment. That's showing respect. But they go away and they don't apologise for some ridiculous decisions that they will make that can come costly for a team or a player or whatnot. They don't come back and go, well, we apologise. It's Howard Webb going on the behalf of PGMO. We are sorry that this... So it goes both ways.
I suppose what we don't want ultimately is where you're hearing Anthony Taylor, for example, saying he now no longer takes his family when he is refereeing huge games. And obviously that's going back to that Europa League final, the Roma fans at the airport.
100%, I think that's disgusting. That's someone's family. That's after the game. Once the game's finished, you leave it, put it to bed, and you move on. And to threaten people like that and physically, all that, absolutely, that's just no. We're not talking about. We're just talking about on the pitch. A couple of foul language here and there, off the shoulder. Move on.
I get you. Okay.
That's just far.
You can listen back to Kickoff's grassroots refereeing special on our app. Just go to the Listen Again feature to listen to last night's show. Right, let's continue discussing the England squad situation and the chances of winning the World Cup next summer too in North America. After securing qualification then, Harry Kane praised the competition for places amongst the squad.
Yeah, just to continue what we've been doing. You know, I just spoke there about we've got some fantastic players still to come back. I think the competition's really high, and that's what you need going into any major tournament. And yeah, I know the guys who ain't here through injury or not quite fit, you know, will be itching to get back next month. And yeah, no matter who's here, I think we always have a great environment. I think we always have a great team ethic. And yeah, like I said, going into next summer, we've only got probably 6 games from now until the first game in the World Cup. So every camp counts, every training session, every game, and I think we're taking advantage of every moment right now.
Well, let's speak to someone who has covered England, and that is Dom Smith, football reporter from The Standard. Evening to you, Dom. How are you?
Evening to you. Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Very well, thank you. So, as we've been saying, job done for Thomas Tuchel, and it's been a flawless campaign so far. How strong, when you look at this squad right now, and of all the players also that haven't been included, how strong do you think this squad, and how realistic could it be that they might win that World Cup too?
Well, it's an interesting question, how strong is the squad, because there's the players who he's actually been calling up, and then there's the players he's been missing out. I mean, obviously there was no Jude Bellingham in the squad this month, which caused, I think, lots of headlines for what felt like a full fortnight. And there's plenty of players who've been out injured as well, including Cole Palmer, for example. And there was no recall yet for Phil Foden. But the players who've been in his team are slightly less heralded names, it's fair to say. Players like Anthony Gordon and Morgan Rogers, who they're certainly stars of their club teams, but they're not the obvious names you'd think about when you think about England's swelling pool of talent these days. And yet Thomas Tuchel's been really making England into a sort of great unit and a team that looks like it could threaten to win the World Cup, which is what England want to say. I think what's good is that players have been playing in their natural positions. That so many England teams of the past have gone to tournaments and there's been kind of shoehorning into different positions, but there's not been a sign of that yet. And I think Tuchel's reign probably started quite slowly, and there was some rather flat football. But last 2 months, it's really stepped forward, I think.
Dom, I think if you look over the pitch, you could say there's easily 2 or 3 players in each position. Do you think that still, which I think last championship, we saw our left side was very vulnerable. We've only got Lewis Skelly as a out-and-out left-back. Is that an area of concern?
I think left back is probably an area of concern, and I'm not actually convinced that Miles Lewis Skelly will necessarily go to the World Cup next summer because I think, not saying that he shouldn't. Okay. Yeah, but you know, he's 19. He's been a decent player for England when he's played, but he's not playing regularly for Arsenal at the moment. Is Ricardo Calafiori's playing ahead of him, and that wasn't the case last season when Thomas Tuchel made him the first player that he handed a debut to. And I just wonder whether Lewis Skelly, if he stays out of the team for the majority of the season. I mean, Thomas Tuchel was literally asked about that when he announced his squad for this month, and he did basically send a warning to the player and said, you know, if you're not in my team, in your club team rather, then to get back into the England squad as this season progresses is going to be quite difficult. And with Tino Livramento and Jed Spence, you've got players who are admittedly right-footed, but by nature. But they are players who've done well for England. They're just a tad more experienced. Certainly, Jed Spence has got a couple more years on Miles Lewis Skelly. Who listen, he's absolutely in with a shout of going to the World Cup, and I think it's going to be out of those 3. I just wonder whether by the end of that kind of the versatility of the other 2, Livramento and Spence might see them through. But I do agree it's an area of concern compared to other positions where England have got a real wealth of talent.
Yeah. Do you think we're going to see a big name not travelling to the World Cup?
I think we will definitely see a big name not travelling to the World Cup because the squad's only 26 players. I mean, I don't think it's possible that he could bring all of... I mean, if you take the number 10 position, I don't think it's possible he could take all of... let's have a look. Palmer, Bellingham, Foden, Eze, Gibbs-White and Rodgers. I just don't think that's possible. I think he might only have to only be able to take 4 of those 6 players. So yes, definitely big names are going to miss out, and I think people might not realise that until they go and do the numbers themselves on a scrap of paper. But definitely, big names are going to miss out.
Tell us a little bit more about the Jude Bellingham situation, because obviously he is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, omission from this latest England squad. Should we be reading anything into that, or is it just a case of he obviously had injury and was just coming back from that, and therefore maybe Tuchel was also thinking that he needs a bit more time to get back into the Real Madrid sort of swing of things?
Well, the boring answer to your question, should we read into it, is we don't know yet, really. I mean, I think the next squad is going to be really indicative, because after September, when England beat Andorra and then thrashed Serbia, he then obviously named his October squad and said, I wanted to keep everything the same. I found a really good squad harmony, so I kept the same players. And to be fair, he did. He barely changed anything. And he could use the excuse that Bellingham is only just back to fitness. But if the reason that he didn't pick Bellingham was honestly just that he wanted to keep the harmony together, then maybe he shouldn't have mentioned the fitness of Jude Bellingham. That kind of felt like it was muddying the waters a bit. And then now England have absolutely hammered Wales and they've thrashed Latvia, and the footballs, continued to be of an excellent quality. So that causes, that potentially causes him a problem, doesn't it? I mean, in terms of what he does next month, is he going to bring Bellingham back into the fold, or is he going to keep kind of going with what is clearly a formula that's working? It's hard to know whether they've got. I don't think they've got necessarily an issue between them, but I thought it was strange when he used the word repulsive in the summer. Everyone obviously went on about that a lot, but I know that he said it on live radio. But I was surprised, with his grasp of English, that he didn't kind of notice that was quite a severe choice of word and maybe apologise for it in the moment. I know that he apologised in an England press conference after that, but that was in September and he'd made the quotes in June. So by that point, it had been allowed to kind of beam around the world as a headline. England manager calls his own players' behaviour repulsive. I mean, that was a headline that wrote itself. So not sure necessarily, but I think next month we'll learn a lot more.
Well, this is what I was going to ask you then. Obviously, we've already talked about the fact that it's Serbia and Albania to come in the final 2 qualifiers. Essentially, job done, as we've been mentioning. So it could be a squad where he tinkers a little bit, brings players into the fold once more that maybe haven't had their chance yet. But at the same time, it might be a chance to continue the momentum that is already now behind this England team. So that November squad, do you think essentially the majority of those players in that squad will be the ones that will go to the US and Canada and Mexico?
I think it will, because I think he wants to tinker but on his terms. I don't think he wants to change around loads and sort of head to the World Cup having called up and played, 45, 55 players in his year in charge. I just don't think he wants to do that. I think he's started to hone that squad now, and it's just a matter of maybe looking at 1 or 2 others. I could imagine him bringing Bellingham back in. I don't know whether he will. I could imagine him trying to take a closer look, particularly at someone like Cole Palmer, who has more missed out because of sort of unfortunately timed injuries than because of anything else. I think he's only played 65 minutes for England. Will he have a look at someone like Trent Alexander-Arnold? I think there's a good chance he might try and bring Adam Wharton back in. Wharton is another player, a bit like Palmer, who tends to get injured when England duty happens. So there's probably a handful of plays he might want to have a look at. Maybe Jack Grealish, although I'm not necessarily sold that would be a good decision. I think you should keep wingers as predominantly wide players, particularly in that system. But I don't think he's going to do loads of changes now because, it's working, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. Okay, Dom, appreciate you joining us this evening. Thank you.
Cheers, Dom.
That was Dom Smith, the England correspondent for The Standard. And yeah, that squad announcement for November, I think, could be mightily telling, even though there will be further international breaks to come before the World Cup. At some point, he's got to start picking essentially the players he knows is going to be heading out next year to the finals.
I agree, but the fact that we're discussing and even talking about is Jude Bellingham going to be in his plans is absolutely wild. I can guarantee you my last dollar that he will be on that plane. Will he be a starter? That's a question and to be asked and answered. But he is going to be, with his passport, checking in on the jet and going to the US.
Okay. That you've heard it here first. Well, I suppose everybody has been saying it really. Essentially, not many can see England heading to the finals without Jude Bellingham. But then who misses out? Oh, so many things to discuss still. We're also going to be chatting Scotland in just a moment and, find out the mood about their chances of qualifying and joining England next year at the World Cup. Plus, we'll take your calls. If you want to get in touch, you're more than welcome to 03717 2233 You're listening into Kickoff here on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18 and over. BeGambleAware.org. Very good evening to you. This is Kickoff on talkSPORT. It is Jermaine Pennant, the former Liverpool and Arsenal winger, who is alongside me, Natalie Sawyer. And we're turning our attentions now to Scotland. They sit second in their World Cup qualifying group. They have assured themselves of a playoff place at the very least, but they're level on points with the leaders, Denmark, and they will be playing them in their final couple of games too to see whether or not they can win the group. And in fact, that'll be the final game at Hampden of that group. And so it could all it could all end up being a winner-takes-all scenario, which is kind of exciting, especially when you've already qualified like England. But the last couple of wins have seen boos rain out with the performances from Scotland, despite the fact they beat Greece and beat Belarus as well. Let's discuss then their hopes of winning the World Cup, making it to the World Cup.
That is hopes.
Do you know what it is?
That's high hopes there, Natalie.
Come out. I'm trying to do my earpiece at the same time. Anyway, and also let's get the very latest on Rangers' search for a new manager. Let's chat to our Scottish football expert, Paul Mitchell, who joins us this evening. How you doing, Paul?
Natalie, very well. Good to speak to you both.
You know, we might as well aim high. We might as well say, could they win?
Paul, do you think you're going to win the World Cup?
Well, I'll tell you what, Jermaine. If we can take Jude Bellingham, if you guys don't want him, we'll take him. We'll find a place for him, and that'll help our charge. I think it's really interesting, Natalie. What they talk about is, when I mentioned on talkSPORT last week, we needed 6 points out of 6 against Greece and Belarus. We got them, and we're still not quite happy because we could have lost the Greece game. We could have been a couple of goals down. I don't think we were going to lose against Belarus, but I tell you what, we nearly lost the point against Belarus. So, and Steve Clarke, what's really interesting, Steve Clarke never appears up, he never appears down, but he basically said it was as disappointed as he has been in the 72 games in charge was that win against Belarus. That's quite an amazing statement.
Yeah, well, very much so.
If you're that disappointed when winning, then winning.
Yeah,
I won't say it's a good thing, but look, you're sitting joint first, I would say, as in both got 10 points. Yes, Denmark's got a better goal difference of 11 goal difference to your 5. But you've got it in your hands, as in the last game you played Denmark, and it's at Hampden Park, home advantage. Surely it's all about not the manner of winning now. It's just about full focus on qualifying. If we play horrendous and get the 3 points, amazing.
Yeah, we'd certainly take it. I mean, interesting, going into this, I think people were looking at the next game up, which is Scotland against Greece, as potentially the playoff place. I mean, Scotland have got that guaranteed already. So we get a little bit funny that us Scots, we want more, we want to play well, we want to qualify. But genuinely, people thought Denmark would be good enough to win the group. Could we get that second place? That's done and dusted. I mean, the Greeks must be utterly distraught. They've got a very, very good squad, and yet they're out of it with 2 games to go. So we have what we want. We've probably got more than we thought we'd get at this stage. So just got to get ready. I think we'll play well in Greece. It'll be very interesting to see how they react, being out the tournament. How are they going to bounce back? Are they going to play some of the younger players who are very talented? Will they play with a devil-may-care attitude? That's going to be interesting, but I'd love it to go to the last game. Winner takes all against Denmark at Hampden for a place in the World Cup final. Would be Scotland's first since '98. Would be incredible.
Let's move on to domestic matters, shall we? And Rangers' pursuit of a new boss. We understand Steven Gerrard has turned down the opportunity to become the Rangers manager once more. Even the former Sheffield Wednesday manager, Danny Roll, likewise, has said it's a no from him. And it feels as though now it's all pointing to Kevin Muscat to take over. I suppose the first question really for you, Paul, is why do you think it's become such a challenge for Rangers and the hierarchy to find a manager?
Well, nobody should be doing this early in the season for a start. So a lot of good people are in work. There's a few out of work that are very good, but a lot of people are established. Rangers' time to get this right was this summer, and they thought they got it right with Russell Martin. It then becomes a big story because somebody has failed, be it the manager, be it the players, and somehow you've got to find somebody who's either out of work or in a job in a slightly different place, as in China in Kevin Muscat's case, and hopefully you might be able to get him. Steven Gerrard, I was told he was the favourite in the summer. I was told he was the favourite again. I think if he'd said yes, he'd be the Rangers manager. The problem is it's then done in public, so you're not getting your first choice. Or there'd be a brave person to tell Kevin Muscat that he wasn't first choice, I'll tell you.
Wasn't it third?
Well, exactly. I mean, but when you conduct your business in public, and let's be honest, a lot of football clubs do, it's very unusual for a club to call a press conference and unveil a new manager and everybody goes, wow, we had no idea. It's just not the way things work now. So if you're not back once or not back twice, you've just got to go down that list. I'll tell you what, it'd be a very interesting question if somebody dares ask Kevin Muscat, what does it feel like to be third choice? I'm sure he'd have the perfect answer and say, I'm here, I've got the job, judge me on what I do.
This appointment feels to me like a very panic one. It feels like they've gone sideways, as in Russell Martin 0.20. This doesn't seem like they learned from the mistakes in what their last manager got. A manager that's going to win them and close that gap to Celtic. To me, if you're going to get someone, move forward. This is, to me, it's got the gone sideways. It's like you may as well have kept Russell Martin. What do the fans feel about this?
I think this is interesting. The fans never seem to take to Russell Martin. He got booed quite early. I think what you get in Kevin Muscat is somebody who's been successful everywhere he's gone. He's won league titles in Japan, Australia, and China, and he's probably going to deliver another one. He's managed over 400 and odd games. Like Russell Martin, he has played at Rangers. They won the title the season he played with them, is possibly the difference. So he knows all about, a very tight title race, because that title race back in 2003, I think, was decided goal difference, 1 goal, 2 goals, Rangers winning on the final day. So he's experienced all of that. So if you marry that with his playing days and with his success as a manager, say over 400 games as a boss, he brings a lot of experience. Yeah. If he's the best man for the job, well, he might not be. He might not have been in the summer if there's sort of 30 candidates. There's not that now. You've got to find who you can get to come in.
I mean, dare I say they're sort of following the Ange Postecoglou route, maybe. And we know how successful he was at Celtic.
So we are, mate.
But, yeah. I mean, all Rangers fans want is somebody to come in and try and challenge Celtic.
Yeah.
And do they have that? I mean, there's a couple of things that are worth noting. People are talking about he wouldn't be here till the end of November. If his team, Shanghai Port, win their next 3 games, and the team in second, who I think is Xingu, if they drop points, the title's over and it's won. So he could be here a lot sooner than, before the international break in November. So that's a possibility. The other thing that's interesting is Rangers have got a huge semi-final against Celtic at the start of November. So it's either going to be Stephen Smith as your caretaker manager. The name Neil McCann's been mentioned as a possible assistant to Kevin Muscat. He might be in charge. That's a huge game. It's a huge semi-final coming up for Rangers. So the games don't get easier for the players.
Sorry.
Because we've got to go to a break. Yeah. But there's a lot more we could have gone into, I'm sure, with this. Paul, thank you for being with us this evening. I've never seen you so passionate about it.
Great. My Rangers.
Scottish football expert Paul Mitchell was joining us. Thank you very much. And of course, as soon as we hear any more on the appointment of a new Rangers manager, which seems to be pointing towards Kevin Muscat, we'll bring it to you first here on talkSPORT. Now up next, we're going to look ahead to the return of the Premier League. Can Manchester United go to Anfield and get something from their trip there? Does Enzo Maresca really deserve a 1-game touchline ban? 03717 223344. That's the number to call us on if you want to have your say. That's all coming and more on the way next.
An inquest into the death of Ricky Hatton has heard he took his own life. The 46-year-old was found unresponsive at his home by his manager Paul Speake last month. The full inquest has been scheduled for March of next year. Anyone affected by this can of course contact the Samaritans free of charge on 116 123. Elsewhere, Premier League clubs will vote next month on a new PSR system. The proposal would mean club spending on transfer and wages would be limited to 5 times the amount the lowest club gets from broadcast revenue and prize money. As things stand, that would roughly mean a £550 million limit, but Simon Jordan says Premier League owners should just be trusted to run their clubs.
They shouldn't need someone on high, some arbitrary force telling grown-up businessmen how they should run their businesses. And I think we've got an unprecedented runaway success in the Premier League that hasn't produced any casualties. The only place that's having problems is the EFL.
Kevin Muscat is the new favourite to take over at Rangers after Danny Röhl became the third name to rule himself out. Meanwhile, our chief football correspondent, Alex Crook, has an update from Celtic.
Brendan Rodgers is out of contract at the end of the season, and as I've been making inquiries about what might happen at Ibrox, I have just been hearing a lot of whispers that maybe Brendan Rodgers could decide at the end of the season not to renew his deal.
George Ford has told talkSPORT that R360 has been turning heads in the Gallagher Prem. That's despite him refusing the league for a new deal at Sale. However, the fly half says it could be time for England to let their players compete for overseas clubs.
Rugby's a tough old physical game, and it takes a lot of sacrifice, and there's a hell of a lot of serious injuries in the game at the minute, so you want to maximise your time playing the game. Of course you do. So I think that's something that needs to be considered in the future.
And former West Ham forward Sai Ben-Rama has been fined 12 grand. That's for letting his 2 XL bullies escape from his East London home and attack a golden retriever. The court heard the owner of the victim dog suffer grazes to his arms and legs after grappling with Ben-Rama's dogs on the ground back in 2023.
Good evening, this is Kickoff on talkSPORT. I'm Natalie Sawyer, and alongside me it's the former Liverpool and Arsenal winger Jermaine Pennant. In this hour, we're going to continue to take your calls on England. Do you have faith in Thomas Tuchel that he can win the World Cup next year? 03 717 223344. That's the number to call us on and have a little chat with us. You can also hear us talking about the return of the Premier League. We'll have live commentary on talkSPORT of Nottingham Forest versus Chelsea. Can Ange Postecoglou pick up his first win as the Forest boss this weekend? We'll discuss that game. Plus, there's a massive clash at Anfield on Sunday as Liverpool take on Manchester United. Can the champions get back to winning ways after 3 successive losses? Also in this hour, we'll discuss Coventry City as they fly high at the top of the Championship under Frank Lampard. So much to discuss, and as I've already mentioned, we do want to hear from you, so why not get in touch? 03 717 223344. By the way, just to keep you updated, there's a League One game taking place right now. It's Huddersfield against Bolton, and Huddersfield have an early lead. A lovely header, wasn't it? Main Pennant.
Yeah, very nice.
From Leo
Good
Castledine.
Near post. Got his head up. Yeah, good header.
Yeah, nice header to give Huddersfield an early lead 7 minutes into that game. And it's a goal that, as things stand, puts Huddersfield into the playoff positions, moves them up to 4th in the table with, of course, a whole host of other fixtures to be played. Right, let's talk England for just a moment. We will... We'll talk about the return of the Premier League after this latest international break in a moment.
Oh, I've missed that.
I've missed it too. It's weird, isn't it? But you know what? I say that, and there'll be League One fans like tonight, or League Two fans will be saying we haven't, you know, we've been going still. Although there have been some postponements because there have been international call-ups in some of those lower league clubs as such. But let's get quickly back on to England, shall we? Because we've got a couple of callers lined up. Let's go to George, the Chelsea fan. How are you doing, George?
Hi there, guys. Great show as always.
Thank you.
George.
Yeah, so going on to England, going on to Tuchel, and more importantly, going on to Jude Bellingham, you know, I'm a massive Tuchel fan, being a Chelsea fan, you know. Chelsea and Tuchel, well, got a love affair. One of the worst decisions that ever happened in our history, I reckon, getting rid of Tuchel. But moving on, England, Bellingham. You know, if Tuchel was to leave Bellingham, just like Jermaine said, if he was to leave Tuchel out of that side, that squad, I would think Tuchel would need to see a head doctor, because you just got to look at Bellingham. The kid is an absolute beast. He's a monster. What he brings to the game is second to none. Look at what he's won. He's won La Ligas. He's won Champions Leagues. He's 22 years old. He's 22. And the magic he can turn on like that. He can just turn it on. He's the type of player that can grab the game by the scruff of the neck and go and win it. We've already seen it in the last tournament with that overhead kick. You know, you cannot be discussing Bellingham not being on that plane. He will start, and he's the future captain of Real Madrid. He's the future captain of England, you know? Let's be honest here. This is just press talk, trying to, because we're trying to pamper it. We've qualified for the World Cup. Now it's all about, how can we knock this down? How can we do this? How can we do that? Bellingham is going to that World Cup. Bellingham will be, hopefully, a World Cup winner. And in time, Bellingham will be winning and lifting trophies for England. And hopefully one day coming back to the Premiership and maybe playing for Chelsea.
Well,
George. I knew it was coming.
George, I think I can sign off. He's done my job for me.
Let's just hope Thomas Tuchel was listening there.
Yes,
very passionate from you, George. Thank you for your call, George. Really appreciate that one. Chris is also waiting to speak to us. How are you doing, Chris?
Good evening, Natalie. Good evening, Jermaine. And can I just say, Natalie, as well, you've got so much more charisma than Gabby Logan's got. The Gabby Logan.
Stop now. That's very kind, but no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. Tell us about England under Thomas Tuchel and how you feel about it.
Again, just to echo what your other caller said, I definitely think Bellingham's got to be in the conversation. Definitely, he's a quality player. He's more than earned his right to be a bit cocky, bearing in mind what he's won at Real Madrid. I think what I would say also is, I personally think this might be a bit controversial here, but nonetheless, what the hell, let's be controversial now.
Oh, when it got to the juicy,
no.
You can't
believe that. We're going to have to get Chris back on the phone because that's unbelievable. What's the controversy?
I think he did it on purpose. I think that's the controversial, that.
What was that?
Oh,
he's back.
Chris, we're trying to get you back. I think not the best reception.
Completely.
Chris, we'll have to leave it there for a moment. Maybe we'll try and get you back because the reception isn't great, which is really unfortunate because you did.
Oh, how horrible! That's
teasing us with a controversy.
You know what? And I don't. The worst thing is I couldn't even guess of which way it's going to go.
Nobody knew.
No.
Chris, that's sly, that. Very sly from Chris, but hopefully we'll get him back so that we can find out what that controversial pick, I don't know what it is. Anyway, that's to come. But if you want to have your say as well, like George and Chris, please do get in touch. 03717223344. But, I mean, obviously, George saying there about Jude Bellingham, I think most people do agree with it. I know you've said it as well, obviously, that he is a guaranteed member of that squad to go to the World Cup. And it probably is just an element of he hasn't, when you're coming back from injury, as much as he's declared himself fit and ready to return to England, that in some ways, why rush him?
Look, Tuchel knows Jude. He knows what he's going to get from Jude, and this is a period now where you don't need to kind of know what your starting 11 is. You need to know about the players on the fringes, what they're going to give you. Can they step up to the to the table when it matters? So this is good for him to know his whole squad. He knows, like Harry Kane. He knows what he's going to get from Harry Kane if he was to miss the next 2 squads. It's about the players who are on the fringes, like your Eze, like your Anthony Gordons, Rashford. Can they, put in performance if we need to count them? So he knows his whole squad.
Yeah.
So Jude is just a little, it's Jude.
Stand by. We're waiting for the controversial view of Chris, who's back. How are you doing, Chris? Are you with us?
Yeah, and that's it. I don't know what happened with the reception there, to be honest with you. I've got full bars now. I was going to say the controversial group I have is that I think World Cup qualifiers in general for the top 20 FIFA World ranked teams should be scrapped entirely, I think. I think we're living in this era now, and Simon John's talked about it, Danny Murphy's talked about it on the other show, of player burnouts, of players playing too many games. And I think, put it this way, if your local postman was burnt out and he was delivering too many letters, you'd have concerns. If you had, say, an opera singer that was burnt out and doing too many shows, his voice was going, you'd have concerns. Well, the same should be true with footballers. They're not robots. I think we scrap qualifiers and just have, let the top 20 teams qualify automatically. And if it means it get the Italians in the World Cup, we'll have them. Let's be honest. Because I just think, to me, the dull's pitch water, these qualifiers. So no one's interested, no one watches them. They're boring. We're playing a dross of Europe. Let's scrap entirely. They're pointless.
Okay, that is controversial, Chris. And what I will say, and I
was expecting more, Chris.
No,
I was expecting Harry Kane's not going to be the man to lead us.
Ditch Harry Kane. No, I hear where you're coming from, Chris, although I don't myself agree with it, because actually sometimes the stories are a big nation not qualifying. Italy didn't make the last 2 World Cups.
Yep.
That's a big story.
You should have to earn the right to not go on history and so on. And like I said, sometimes these lower teams, it's difficult to beat. And they may get result against Belgium, against Italy, against England.
Well, Andorra didn't make it easy. I know they parked the bus essentially, but they didn't make it easy. You look at the emergence of North Macedonia and even Hungary as well at recent major tournaments. Some of these nations are causing the elite sides problems. And I think that's what the beauty of these qualifiers is, that you are getting sometimes the odd unusual result or not expected result, or that they're a tougher opposition than expected. I know in the main, what probably Chris is alluding to, in the main, most of the elite nations do get through.
Yes.
But sometimes they don't. And that's the story, that Italy misses out.
100%.
For example.
100%.
So, I Chris, I love your thought process. I like it. But we're not going to do that. No, we're not going to do that.
I would say maybe, tone the games down, the amount that they play with the friendlies and all that. I'm more voice for that and keep the Premier League going for longer. But I think, giving automatic places for the top 20 teams in the world, in Europe, I don't think that's...
And last weekend, the Faroe Islands had a massive victory over Czechia, 2-1.
Yeah, so
those are the beauties that... The problem is that I think a lot of us go into these games going, we're going to walk over Andorra. We're going to walk over Faroe Islands in that position, in that particular game, for example. It doesn't always go to plan. And so that's the anomalies sometimes that you get, but make the qualifying competitions at times exciting. Although I realise in England's group it has been a walkover. Really.
It has. We got knocked out by Finland once, so let's not forget
Iceland.
Iceland.
At Euro 26.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So let's
not
forget
talk
that. So, it happens. It does happen.
We move on. Hopefully that won't be the situation.
No.
In the World Cup, where we will have some first-timers. Cape Verde, Uzbekistan and Jordan have qualified, which are great stories all in themselves. Yeah. Okay, if you want to get in touch, you're more than welcome to. Please do give us a call on 03717 223344. Maybe you can add some controversy like Chris did just then. Just to remind you, the NBA is back next week, and talkSPORT can get you in the mood with live basketball on our YouTube channel right now. The London Lions have their third game of the season. Tip-off was at 7:30. You can get behind them as they're the only British side in the competition, and they're building something special at the Cop-Up Box Arena, a venue that's attracted big names such as Tottenham's Mohamed Kudus, Fulham's Alex Iwobi, and presenter Maya Jama as well. That's the London Lions in Euro Cup basketball action live on the talkSPORT YouTube channel right now. Okay, up next, we will discuss the return of the Premier League. This is Kickoff on talkSPORT. Thank you very much for tuning in this Thursday evening, and you're listening in to Jermaine Pennant, former Premier League winger, and Natalie Sawyer as we take you through until the sports bar from 10. Now, how do you fancy winning £100,000? If you do, listen up. That because it's one of our biggest cash prizes to date. And to give you a chance to win that huge 100 grand completely tax-free, you might want a pen and paper and listen up on all the details on how to enter.
18 plus UK excluding Northern Ireland. For a chance to win, text the word cash to 83338 and you're in the draw. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You must have the bill payer's permission, or you can enter for free by calling 0330 880 3338. All entries must be received by the 6th of November at 4 p.m. This is a TalkSPORT limited promotion run on TalkSPORT, Talk and Virgin Radio UK stations. Full terms and conditions at talksport.com.
Okay. Best of luck with that. Now it's time for us to take a look at the latest football action with Ladbrokes.
The big preview on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Okay, after a little bit of a break, the Premier League, Jermaine, is back.
And it's nodded into the near post, and Arsenal may just have snatched the victory in stoppage time.
Chelsea have landed a blow on the champions. It's Chelsea 2, Liverpool 1.
Don't be fooled, Arsenal, they will take Liverpool all the way. Semenyo getting to the byline, now pulling it back. Oh, how has he squeezed that in?
Jensen scores. Manchester United are beaten again.
The Manchester United have not only stagnated, but regressed under this manager. Erling Haaland had never scored here at the G-Tech. Well, he most certainly has now. It's his 12th goal of the season.
To Moises Caicedo. Oh, he's rifled it in. What a strike.
The winless streak continues for Ange Postecoglou, and the woes carry on.
If it doesn't turn around quickly, I think Postecoglou will find himself under pressure.
The greatest drama in the world. This is the Premier League.
Yeah, after 2 weeks away, then it is back. And I'm going to quickly run you through all of the fixtures. We've got 7 on Saturday, starting with Nottingham Forest against Chelsea, which is our game day lunchtime exclusive. 12:30, that one is. Then you've got a whole host of 3 o'clock kickoffs. Brighton, Newcastle, Burnley, Leeds, Crystal Palace, Bournemouth, Manchester City, Everton and Sunderland against Wolves, followed by the 5:30, a London derby between Fulham and Arsenal. Then on the Sunday, Tottenham hosts Aston Villa in a 2 o'clock kickoff before the big one at Anfield, which sees Manchester United make the trip to Liverpool. And then it all culminates with the even bigger affair at the London Stadium, the Monday Night Football. Oh yes, it's a London derby, West Ham against Brentford. The less said about that one, the better, I think. Let's talk about that game that I mentioned at the City Ground, Nottingham Forest versus Chelsea. Before we get your thoughts on Ange Postecoglou and everything that's going on at Nottingham Forest, let's hear from the Forest boss. Ahead of the game, he says he's not feeling the pressure despite a difficult start to life for him at the club.
Like I said, if people want to make an assessment of me after 3.5 weeks, what can I do about that? I can't do anything about that. But at the same time, I don't, it's not a situation where I'm thinking that, oh my God, where am I? I want to be here. That's where I want to be. I didn't have to be here. I could have been sitting on the couch watching the game at home. So I'm here, and this is where I want to be. Love a fight. We've got a fight on our hands. I knew it would be a fight. I knew it'd be a struggle. Always is when you want to try to create something. And nothing I've seen has told me that we won't be embarking on something special.
it's been a really, really difficult start for him.
Yeah.
Hasn't yet won in his 7 games in charge, lost 5 of those, and this is in all competitions, one of which was the FC Midtjylland defeat in the Europa League. I was at that game for talkSPORT. To hear the change and the stance from some of those fans who were chanting, you're getting sacked in the morning, and then chanting for the Nuno, I couldn't believe how quick some of those fans have already turned on Ange Postecoglou. Do you fear for him already?
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely. It's big. You know, he comes out and said, I knew it was going to be fine, it was going to be a struggle. It's not like you've took over a team who was fighting relegation. You've took a team that just slipped out of the Champions League spot and got into Europe, who were very, very difficult to beat, who were, you know, at one stage 3rd in the Premier League and was destined for the Champions League. So to say that it was going to be a struggle is a bit bizarre. You took over a good team who was oiled well, playing well, and knew how to win games. And now he's got himself in a predicament and in a place where if it was a normal chairman, then you could say, okay, yeah, they're going to see this in the long term and see how it goes. Marinakis is not that guy. He's a very heated, passionate chairman, and he likes to see results. He likes to see winning games, and he will go with the fans. So the way things are going right now, do not be, for 1 minute, think that Marinakis will go, well, you know what? I have made a bad decision, and I will give you the sack. That can easily happen. So for me, he's under pressure.
The thing is, though, there was lots of reports that Ange Postecoglou and Evangelos Marinakis had a relationship prior to Nuno Espirito Santo being sacked.
Yeah.
So it kind of made sense that once Nuno was sacked, that Ange was going to come in. The problem is that we don't know, and Ange was available. Obviously, he'd been sacked by Tottenham, and he was available. The problem is who would then take over if they get rid of Ange already. The suggestions are Sean Dyche might be the next one in, but is that really going to be the style of football if we believe that he would still implement the style of football we're used to under Sean Dyche? Would that appease the Forest fans?
Well, I think at the moment what will appease him is that winning games.
Just winning.
Getting results against. You know, it's like they're going to have to start from scratch again and start winning games. But going to get Sean Dyche is a worse version in my eyes than Nuno. It's just bizarre how they've got rid of him in the first place, and that's what we really should be talking about. But yeah, and I don't think Marinakis had a conversation with Ange and says, here's the job, looking forward to working together, but the first 7 games, we might not win any. Those words will have never crossed each other's lips, and Marinakis never thought in the wildest dreams that for 7 games I won't get 3 points, I will not get a result. Absolutely not.
We have seen it with Premier League managers who haven't got off to the best of starts. Andoni Iraola didn't at Bournemouth. What was it, 9-10 games into his tenure at Bournemouth when he picked up his first win. Now look at where they are now in the Premier League. They're doing brilliantly well, considering they literally lost all of their back line in the summer. Replaced them, it feels like, with exactly like for like, because they're doing so well. So it can sometimes take time for a team to gel, especially if that manager might be playing a slightly different brand of football that they're not used to.
Yes, it can take a time for a team to gel.
But surely he's allowed that time.
Okay, but then what substance is there to say this team gelling the way he wants to play is going to be successful? He almost got relegated with Spurs, with Tottenham. He was 17th. 22 league games he lost. So there's nothing there to suggest that, okay, if he implements the same style, because that's what he seems he wants to do, that at Spurs, let's try and implement that at Forest, that we're going to get a different result from what I got last season. And you would probably look at it and say that Tottenham had a better squad than Forest currently. So if we're talking about a different chairman, one that's, I won't say stable, but one that's more relaxed and likes to give people time, you would say, okay, fair enough. But people are saying he's under pressure because of Marinakis, how he is. If you can sack someone who just got you European football and you look solid, if you can sack a manager like that, then what can he do with someone who's doing the opposite?
through. But here's a question I want to pose to Forest fans if they want to get in touch this evening, and it'd be great to hear from you. Would you take 17th, so a relegation scrap this season, but you win the Europa League, which is exactly what happened with Tottenham? Would you take that with Ange Postecoglou, or would you rather ditch him now and just see who you can get in next? So that's the question I'd like to put to you, Forest fans. And why not get in touch this evening? 03717 2233 44. You can text us at 81089 and you can WhatsApp us on that 03717 2233 44. A reminder for you, we've got the next 2 Forest games live on talkSPORT. That Chelsea lunchtime game on Saturday, followed by that Europa League game against Porto on Thursday. Things don't get any easier for Ange. That's all thanks to Ladbrokes. It's 18 and over, gambleaware.org.
The big preview on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Okay, you are tuning in to kick off this Thursday evening. Cover your ears right now, Jermaine, because I'm not sure you want me to say this, but is the traditional winger a dying breed? That's next. This is Kickoff on talkSPORT with Jermaine, Pennant and Natalie Sawyer. We're with you until 10 this evening. Just to bring you some headlines, Wilfried Zaha has hit back at his former Crystal Palace teammate Jean-Philippe Mateta after he claimed that Zaha doubted he could make it at national team level. Now playing, though, for France is Mateta. Former Chelsea and West Ham manager Graham Potter has expressed his interest in becoming Sweden's next head coach. Potter previously managed Swedish side Östersunds from 2011 to 2018. And the Fulham owner Shahid Khan caught up with talkSPORT's Will Gavin and was asked whether the Premier League should consider hosting matches abroad.
We're going to be seeing Serie A games, La Liga games played abroad now. Is that something that you would support, at least the looking into taking the Premier League outside of the UK?
Well, let me just explain. NFL, why are we doing what we're doing? Okay, because it's a very American-centric sport. It's a huge cultural phenomenon in the U.S. It's saturated. For us to have the growth, we need international. Okay, but when you look at the Premier League, it's already an international sport. As I just said earlier, by far the most competitive league in the world. So I would then question, what is the need for it? So where the game is played, it has huge amount of international following, and it's competitive. So I would kind of question really the need, looking at it. That it's not what NFL needs and what Premier League, they're two different things.
Really interesting conversation there with Shahid Khan. And this coming off the back of the fact that one Serie A game is going to be played abroad, as will a La Liga match as well. We often say this American influence coming into the Premier League can only mean one thing, and that we might see international matches like we would discuss, like was being discussed there. The fact that they might even suggest there's no promotion and relegation as it is in America with a lot of their sports. But it's quite nice to hear an American owner coming out there and basically saying, no, we're quite happy as we are.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think it's ridiculous even thinking of a Premier League game abroad.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
I mean, I would agree with you.
Everyone around the world watches the Premier League anyway. We don't need to take it out of our...
we don't need
country.
to build the brand.
We don't need to build it. Yeah, it's already probably the biggest. Well, it is the biggest sport watched globally. So it's only for a money making scheme for whoever's doing the organising and the clubs. But yeah, just keep it out of us. We're fine.
Yeah, and the Serie A match is being played in Perth in Australia. I mean, can you imagine as a player being sent out there for one game?
Let's go as far as possible to play this game.
Completely different time zones. Make it really difficult for everybody. It's a really bizarre situation. But I kind of get it from Serie A's point of view, to an extent La Liga as well, because as you say, they're trying to compete with the global brand of the Premier League. And maybe the only way they can do that is by playing more regular games abroad, or at least getting their own teams out there and playing, even in the summer series that we always hear about with some of the Premier League sides going to America, for example, or to the Far East. These are the kind of things they probably will need to do more of.
No, I understand that, off season and little tournaments that you can implicate, but I think during a season, that's just bizarre.
Yeah, it does raise a lot of questions about the integrity of it all, in the sense of the team that gives up that home fixture.
Exactly. Who's home and who's away in the next... So I think it's... But what if someone needed to stay up, or they stay up by 1 point because they drew up in 65 miles away on Mars, that then, they may have won that at home. So, it's ridiculous. Like I said, the integrity of the league is no. That's going to get scrapped. For sure.
Well, we shall see.
Well, Premier League definitely won't go near it.
Well, there has been talk of it potentially because of...
You're allowed to have talks, but any further? No.
You'll be able to hear more of that exclusive interview with Shahid Khan on talkSPORT tomorrow morning, and you can find it on our talkSPORT YouTube channel as well. I'm sure it's a really interesting listen. Just a few moments ago, we were speaking about the Forest situation. Bear in mind, Ange Postecoglou yet to win after 7 games in charge. We've had a few messages in.
Yeah.
Because I did pose the question, and it's probably an obvious question in the sense of, would you take finishing 17th, but kind of be involved in a relegation scrap, although I know Tottenham weren't, because the 3 that went down were so far behind. But essentially, you look at the table and you think, well, that's not good for where Tottenham finished last season, but they did win the Europa League. This is what we had in from Alex Newick, who is a Forest fan. He says, I would 100% take 17th in the Europa League. Means the category of player we attract with extra money is a different level to what we can currently attract. Of course, that does mean, yes, you go into the Champions League, so that makes perfect sense. This one is from Will. He says, Ange needs more time. Appreciate the results have been poor, but we've been close in games, just haven't taken our chances, and change takes time. As he says, Spurs weren't in a relegation battle, but they won a trophy and would certainly take that for Forest this season. And that's right to mention what you say there about they have been in games. The Michelin one, they outshot them by some distance. Similar, I think, against Sunderland too. They said, I think, 22 shots to Sunderland's 11. It's just they couldn't put it away, which has been their biggest problem. And Daryl Gibbs says, massive Nottingham Forest fan, I think we should get rid of Ange and bring in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer or Steven Gerrard or Sean Dyche or Rafa Benitez. Quite a lot of options there, Daryl. But why not? Why
Basically, Daryl said anybody apart from Ange.
Yeah, quite. Keep them coming into us. It's really fascinating to hear your views this evening. And as we mentioned then, Forest taking on Chelsea on our game day lunchtime exclusive on Saturday. Enzo Maresca won't be involved in this one in the sense of he has a touchline ban to serve. He was sent off against Liverpool, if you remember, picking up 2 yellow cards, the second of which was for leaving the technical area to celebrate Chelsea's late winner. I mean, if you remember, the number of players and manager involved in the
staff was there,
yeah,
the doctor was there, chef was even down there.
Everyone was in there. The stewards, everyone.
Kit man, you name it.
They were all getting him. Todd Bowley was probably in there. We just never saw him.
Bus driver.
Now, listen, as much as I understand the referee at that time was following the rule book, the law is the law, and that's what he did, and that's why he had to give him a yellow card. Does it still not feel a little bit harsh that you'd give him a touchline ban for just celebrating?
It is harsh. But again, it's just the letter of the law. Yeah. It's the same with you get Ekitike when he took off his shirt.
Yeah,
but he still had a red Under Armour on, and he got a second yellow and a ban. It's just unfortunately, I know the referee at the time thinking, I don't really want to do this.
Do you think he is thinking that?
Do you know what? Because these refs know. He's thinking, I'm going to enjoy this.
Oh, you think he's enjoying it?
Yeah, I think he's like, I can't wait to get out my card, and I can't wait to give you this. This will serve you right. This is what I think they're thinking.
Really?
Yeah, because I'm sure, right? If he did not have pulled out his card, nobody would have put an line. Nobody would have questioned it. Why didn't he get booked? I don't think Howard Webb would have came down on him hard going, oh, you should have done this. It would have just been forgotten about.
We don't know, though, do we? In all fairness, because we don't know all the inner workings.
More than likely, it would have been just, okay, he didn't make, he didn't, it's not a mistake, he just left it be.
I know what you're saying, but there's always one who knows the law book inside and out and would have gone, hello, he's come out of his technical area. That's a yellow card, I do get what you're saying. Probably in that heat of the moment, none of us would have batted an eye. And none of us would have thought, oh, he deserves a yellow now.
Exactly.
But I suppose that referee, as I say, he didn't follow the rules.
The referee got giddy.
Well, no, but if he doesn't follow the rules, he might get called up on it.
Let me give you a card. Here you go. Yes.
Is that how they speak?
Yeah. Had a shower. There's all talking. Go, yeah, we got one. We got one.
That'll teach him. Just quickly then, how much of a difference does it make not having a manager in the dugout? Does it make
it does have an impact. It does, because he barks out your instructions there and, within split seconds. He's now got a radio through to his assistant. They're going to debate it. Then he's got to come across, which that could be a second or two too late. And also, it's like when you're at school and you've got a supply teacher coming in. You act up a little bit. Because
they do, don't they? Yeah.
And then after, when school's finished, then, headmistress says, oh, Bob, it's kind of, look, it's not the same thing, but these guys are professional. But it does have a little impact when the gaffer's not on the touchline and he's, pointing directions and giving you instructions and wanting, set all these things that go on in a game that the managers make a decision and change. Yeah.
It's an intriguing game, certainly to kick things off with the resumption of the Premier League because of the Ange Postecoglou factor, the fact that he is still needing that first win, that there are certain Forest fans who it feels have already turned on him. So all eyes will be on him in the dugout where he will be, but no Enzo Maresca. There are a whole host of 3 o'clock fixtures coming away on the Saturday, 5 in fact. Brighton, Newcastle, Burnley, Leeds. It's Crystal Palace against Bournemouth, Manchester City host Everton, and then Sunderland take on Wolves. And then at 5:30, the leaders, Arsenal, travel to Craven Cottage to face Fulham in a London derby. Don't forget, we'll have updates for you on talkSPORT with Game Day Live from 2:30, where Adrian Durham and the team will take you around the grounds with all the 3 o'clock kickoffs, making sure you are updated on everything that happens. And then you can have your say in the Game Day phone-in from 5:30 on Saturday. So do get your calls in. Do you think Ange Postecoglou can pick up his first win as the Forest boss against Chelsea? Do you fancy Arsenal for the title? 03717 2233 44. Next up, we're going to delve into the EFL. By the way, it's half-time now in that game between Huddersfield and Bolton in League One, and it's still 1-0 that Huddersfield lead. We're going to discuss, though, Coventry City next. They are flying high at the top of the Championship under Frank Lampard. Will this be their year? We'll chat about it next. This is Kickoff on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18 and over. BeGambleAware.org. This is Kickoff on talkSPORT with Jermaine Pennant and Natalie Sawyer. We're with you until 10 this evening, and we were hoping to speak Coventry in just a moment, just struggling to get a hold of a guest that was going to join us, but hopefully we'll get to that. But it's a big game that they've got coming up on Saturday, which you can tune into on talkSPORT 2. It kicks off at 3. Coventry, the league leaders of the Championship, taking on Blackburn, a side who are struggling at the other end of the table. We'll talk more, hopefully, about that a little bit later on, but we'll continue our chat on all things Premier League as it makes its return then after this latest international break. And we mentioned there's a whole host of 3 o'clock kickoffs, but then there's a 5:30 kickoff at Craven Cottage, where Arsenal travel to face Fulham in a London derby. Arsenal, who are leaders of the Premier League as things stand. So, Jermaine, a club you know well.
Yep.
How do you feel about their chances of maybe getting the job done this season and winning the Premier League finally after so long?
You would have to say, as of now, they are favourites to win the Premier League. Their squad, they've added, and the depth of their squad is probably the best. As in, you look at when they got fully fit, it's hard to choose who's going to start where, apart from your Rice and your Saka and your Reyes and Gabriel's. But apart from that, players can come in. You got Odegaard, he can play number 10. Then you got Eze. They're in a great position, and they've got a core squad who've played together quite a lot. Liverpool are still trying to gel. They're still trying to get there. Yes, they will. But right at this present time, I would say that Arsenal are probably favourites to win the league. But over the course of 38 games, the favourite is going to ebb and flow. It's going to ebb and flow.
You think it's going to be that close this season?
Yeah. And don't rule out Manchester City. They look like they're coming into a better form. Look like they're scoring goals again. But to me, it's out of Liverpool and Arsenal. But the favourites between these two, I think, will ebb and flow throughout the season, especially when Liverpool do start to click. They're only a point behind Arsenal, and people say they've not really got out of third gear yet. They're still trying to find that fourth. But when they do, then it's going to be tasty.
Just a point separate the two as things stand. I'm sure we'll dip into more of that chat a little bit later on. But let's get back to what we were hoping to focus on, which is the Championship and Coventry City, who are flying high at the top of the table under Frank Lampard. They're a point clear of Middlesbrough and still undefeated in the league this season. In fact, they are the only team in the top 4 leagues yet to lose. It's quite incredible. If you remember last season, they did reach the playoffs under Lampard, who took over them when they were 17th in the league. They went on an incredible run to book their place then in the end of season playoffs. And now they're making this incredible start to life once more in the league and hoping to return to the Premier League for the first time in what would be 25 years. Last Tuesday, the former Chelsea midfielder Frank Lampard joined talkSPORT Drive and said he was delighted with his side start to the season.
I feel fortunate I've walked into this group of lads because they're so keen. They want to train. They train hard. They're very together. All those things, all the basics that you can't have success without. And last year we moved on a lot. I think unlucky in the Sunderland games. I thought we played well in those, but that's the way it goes, and we just missed out. So we might have a bit between our teeth with the break and coming back and having another go at it. We've kept a lot of the same the players of the squad really, so we've got good continuity really in players. That there was a bit of talk around over the summer. We've managed to keep hold of good players and bring a few others in, and we're playing well at the minute.
OK, so let's bring you the Coventry angle on all of this. Pleased to say joining us, Coventry podcaster Ross Spence. Ross, good evening. How are you?
Yeah, all good, thank you. How are you?
Very well. You must be absolutely buzzing right now with how things are going at Coventry.
Yeah, it couldn't really get too much better at the moment, to be honest. I mean, there is a few games that we could have probably picked up more points on if we're being critical, but to be the only team unbeaten in England at the moment and have like a 20+ goal difference is pretty wild to be a Coventry fan at the moment. Yeah, but we're not getting too carried away with ourselves, I'd like to say.
Yeah, I was going to touch on that. Obviously you're 1 point behind Middlesbrough.
In front of, sorry. But the goal difference, plus 20 and there's 6. What is it? Is it just right? Let's go out, attack. If you score, we're going to score more.
Yeah, I think if you watch Championship teams over the years, one thing I've noticed is its continuity. So it's about having a team that have been together for sort of a long period of time. Obviously, you have the parachute payment teams, which can sort of put almost like a mini Premier League team together, if that makes sense, and effectively get out of the division. But I just seem to think this year it seems very open. I mean, Ipswich have had sort of a rocky start. Obviously, Leicester have still got some good players, but they've got like a points deduction potentially still hanging over their head at any point. And obviously, Southampton have had sort of a complete wipeout. So if anything, it's been there for sort of teams to grab the ball by the horn, as they say. And I think at the moment, with Lampard coming in and sort of the momentum we gathered last year, he touched upon, obviously, that you just played a minute ago in his interview, that we've kept all of our sort of main players, which I don't think many, or even Coventry fans being too pessimistic, thought we'd keep all of them. And then we've added in sort of key positions like the goalkeeper, Carl Rushworth. We've obviously bought in other players as well in January, someone like Matt Grimes, who's now the club captain, that's been monumental to things that we've done and is a top player at this level. You've got someone like Haji Wright, who wasn't fit towards the end of last season now is playing at probably the best form that he's had in England, if not in his career for club and country. So I think when you add all of those sort of elements together, as well as getting the best out of players like Brandon Thomas-Asante, Victor Torp, the big difference that I know Lampard touched upon as well was looking at the data of Leeds and Burnley last year, and he effectively said they run the most out of everyone. So if we come back the fittest team in the league, or one of, we're going to have a very good chance at being one of the best teams in the league. And I think that's why you're seeing a tight-knit group of players that are very fit, playing at the peak of their performance effectively under a manager that, A, they believe in, and two, respect his decisions on and off the pitch and his ideas of where he wants to take the club. So I think that's why we find ourselves in the position that we're in. But as we all know, the Championship is a long old season, and there'll be a lot of ups and downs, but we've got to enjoy the momentum and keep it going while we can.
But as we've kind of seen in recent years, the teams that tend to get promoted are the teams that are in and amongst it from the very start. There's the odd anomaly that make the charge, like Coventry did last season, in the sense of getting into the playoffs. But in the main, it always tends to be that the teams who are making those early charges to kind of stick it out, really.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's something we've got to try and basically have as our mindset, is we never ever start well as well. It's been something that's happened to us for season after season for years, and I think that was the key message that Lampard and obviously Doug King, the owner, had sent out this year, is that obviously they wanted a good start. I don't think even they would have envisioned we might have done as well as we are at the moment. I think a good start was picking up a good amount of points, winning some games, but to obviously keeping clean sheets, scoring goals, looking a threat constantly, with virtually top of every data stat you can look at in the league, even to the point where you've got goalkeepers got the most clean sheets, you've got the top scorer in the division, you've got joint top assister in the division, you've got every single bit of data that you could look at is possibly going in our favour at the moment. And I think we've just got to really, like you just touched upon there, is take it in our stride now and say, look, we've started well, we normally end the season well, so if we can get through this next period into that Christmas period in and around there, maybe bring some reinforcements in January as well, we can have a really good go at not just the playoffs this year, potentially the top two as well.
Well, you've got a game at the weekend, Blackburn. You're already a whopping 30 points ahead of them after 9 games. Are you expecting an easy game, easy 3 points here, or can you not take any game for granted in the Championship?
This is the Championship, Jermaine. Unfortunately, it's this has a 2-1 close game written all over it last minute.
No chance. You don't concede at the moment. What are you talking about?
No, it's the Championship. Look, I expect us to win. Of course I do. I think we're flying at the moment. I think if we really take it to them, we should win the game. But I think you've just got to, Lampard touches upon it all the time, the feel and the mentality of the team is so important. And while it's good to enjoy the good moments, there are going to be games, and we've seen it, even Leeds as an example. I can count 3 or 4 games on my hand last year where they had to score a last-minute goal, or they had to dig in really deep to win a game in the last minute. Sunderland at home, for example, where they probably thought they were going to win, they were losing, and then they won 2-1, and the celebrations were almost like they won the league at the end because it's such a big result. And we will have moments like that this season, and we've got to understand that they are to come. And if you are a top team, you overcome those challenges. And I think that's what Lampard has really touched upon with this team, that it's not going to be 4-5-0 every single game, every single week. You're going to have games where it's going to be close, or Norwich the other week, where we had 28 shots on goal and only managed to score one, and it was probably the scuffiest goal you'll see all season. You'll have games like this. It's Championship. There's 46 games for a reason, and it's probably one of the most entertaining leagues in the world for a reason. So we've just got to keep level-headed and see where we end up at the end of the season. But I think that the feel at the moment around the club, the players, owner, manager, fans, all of it is sort of buying into one, and it does look positive at the moment.
Well, it sounds it as well. Ross, thank you. Great to chat to you.
Cheers, Ross.
Ross Spence there, the Coventry City podcaster. And a reminder, you can tune into Coventry against Blackburn. It's part of our EFL coverage on Saturday. 2 live games on talkSPORT 2, including that one I've just mentioned, as well as QPR against Millwall. That one starts things off at 12:30. We'll also be bringing you Leicester against Portsmouth at 7:45. But our EFL coverage begins tomorrow night with second place Middlesbrough hosting Ipswich, and Middlesbrough looking to go back to the top of the Championship. Up next, we'll discuss a potential Premier League salary cap. Would you be in favour of it? Is that realistic? Could it happen? We'll get Jermaine's thoughts on it too. You're tuning in to Kickoff on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes, 18 and over, begambleaware.org.
An inquest into the death of Ricky Hatton has heard he took his own life. The 46-year-old was found unresponsive at his home by his manager Paul Speake last month. The full inquest has been scheduled for March of next year. Anyone affected by this can of course contact the Samaritans free of charge on 116 123. Elsewhere, Premier League clubs will vote next month on a new PSR system. The proposal would mean club spending on transfer and wages would be limited to 5 times the amount the lowest club gets from broadcast revenue and prize money. As things stand, that would roughly mean a £550 million limit, but Simon Jordan says Premier League owners should just be trusted to run their clubs.
They shouldn't need someone on high, some arbitrary force telling grown-up businessmen how they should run their businesses. And I think we've got an unprecedented runaway success in the Premier League that hasn't produced any casualties. The only place that's having problems is the EFL.
Kevin Muscat is the new favourite to take over at Rangers after Danny Röhl became the 3rd name to rule himself out. Meanwhile, our chief football correspondent Alex Crook has an update from Celtic.
Brendan Rodgers is out of contract at the end of the season, and as I've been making inquiries about what might happen at Ibrox, I have just been hearing a lot of whispers that maybe Brendan Rodgers could decide at the end of the season not to renew his deal.
George Ford has told talkSPORT that R360 has been turning heads in the Gallagher Prem. That's despite him refusing the league for a new deal at Sale. However, the fly-half says it could be time for England to let their players compete for overseas clubs.
Rugby's a tough, old physical game, and it takes a lot of sacrifice. And there's a hell of a lot of serious injuries in the game at the minute. So you want to maximise your time playing the game. Of course you do. So I think that's something that needs to be considered in the future.
And former West Ham forward Sai Benrahma has been fined 12 grand. That's for letting his 2 XL bullies escape from his East London home and attack a golden retriever. The court heard the owner of the victim dog suffer grazes to his arms and legs after grappling with Benrahma's dogs on the ground back in 2023.
A very good evening to you. This is Kickoff on talkSPORT. Coming up in this final hour of the show, we're going to look ahead to Sunday's games, including a cracker between Liverpool and Manchester United in the Premier League as it makes its return. Will Ruben Amorim alleviate some more pressure on himself this weekend? Could he possibly get his side to inflict more pain on Liverpool after 3 successive defeats? We'll also discuss Sheffield Wednesday, who have been handed a winding up petition. So what's next for them? We'll speak to a Wednesday fan later on in this hour. And of course, we always want to hear from you. So if you want to call us, you can. 03717 223344 is the number to do that. You can also WhatsApp us on that number and also text us to 81089. I'm Natalie Sawyer and it's Jermaine Pennant with me here on Kickoff. Okay, just for a moment, Jermaine, we've got to get all serious. We've got to go a la Simon Jordan.
Not my forte. I'll give it a go.
We'll both do our best. Listen, I failed Maths GCSE twice, so I'm not great when it comes to figures, that's for sure. But let's discuss the latest proposals suggesting that the Premier League could introduce a form of a salary cap. All 20 clubs will be meeting in November to discuss the proposals, which would see clubs be limited to spending 5 times as much as the bottom's club earnings on their expenditure on player and manager salaries, as well as amortisation and agents' fees. At present, that spend figure is suggested to be around £500 million. Well, talkSPORT's finest have been having their say around these proposals.
Suddenly heads it over the keeper, and that gets rid of all the frustration.
He throws these figures around as if 500 grand a week on a football is just something we should all accept. They're not worth it. He's not worth £500,000 a week.
I've been involved in football for 45 years. Never have I seen wages go down. And I don't think they ever will.
I don't think there should be a salary cap, but I do think that the wages, some of them are outrageous.
They don't just get rewarded for nothing. To get to the elite level of football, the Premier League, the sacrifices you put in.
Okay, so that was just some of the voices you heard on talkSPORT then discussing this situation of a possible salary cap. They're kind of calling it anchoring, based, as I said, on the fact that it's all down to how the bottom team fares in terms of their earnings. So just based on the fact that there could be a cap introduced, how would you feel about that, Jermaine?
I'm not sure. Because you're then changing the league. You're then changing what the Premier League is. It attracts the best talent across the world, the best players. So would that impact that? Or
probably would.
Yeah, probably would. Look, if there was a global thing where in football there was a cap and it would help teams with the PSR, they've been on that nonsense, people could spend what they want to spend, then maybe, yeah. But just for the Premier League saying, all right, they're going to do a cap, absolutely not. Look, there's other sports out there where they earn twice as much as a footballer. And I don't know why people are talking about they get paid so much, X, Y, Z. It's a entertaining sport. We entertain and people come to watch. There's sports out there that don't generate as much fan base and are probably not globally as big, like F1. I know we talk about golf as well as an individual sport. Some of them earn in a year more than Premier League players do. F1 drivers earn 3 times as much as a footballer earns. So what is it so bad about a footballer earning ridiculous amount to a golfer earning a ridiculous amount, an F1 driver earning a ridiculous amount? Is it because it's a working man's sport and all of a sudden they go through very little to absolutely, ton loads of money? F1, you've got to have quite a bit of money to get into that sport. Yeah. Similar with golf. So I think really just leave footballers alone. They earn what they earn. They don't ask to earn this. It's through TV rights. It's through with the inflation of going up and the way money's brought into the game. Why the clubs pay what they can pay.
I suppose the issue for many fans is the astronomical sums that we talk about when it comes to a weekly wage of some players, if not most players, are just so eye-watering that you feel like you lose a connection with those players. And I'm just coming at this from a sort of devil's advocate way, because I tend to agree with you. I don't think we should be bringing in a salary cap that waters down the Premier League, because we want to attract the very best of the best. We already have competition from Saudi Arabia with the fact that they can pay incredible sums of money on wages, for example. And what we don't want, and I know this is biased, but we don't want to see the Premier League become a similar ilk to the Serie A, which, let's not forget, the Serie A at one stage was one of the best leagues to be playing in terms of what it offered. Likewise with Spain, for example, France, or whatever it is, because we still want, surely, the Premier League to be the elite that everybody wants to play in at the end of the day. But I go back to the fans, and maybe that's where some of this fan responses that we have heard throughout here on talkSPORT often centres on. They just can't get their head around the numbers that players are paid.
Yeah, the numbers are very, very high again, but that's because of the model of the club. They're earning a lot. They're like a multi-billion enterprise. They're not doing that at a loss. They can pay these wages because they're bringing in so much there with fan base, with competitions, with TV money. They're getting a lot. It's like if you I don't know, you work at a job, McDonald's, and all of a sudden they bring in tons loads of money, and you're a star asset. They're paying you what they're getting in. It's.
Do you think there should be an element though of, say, young players shouldn't be earning ridiculous sums? I know you might argue, well, look, if they're already playing in a Premier League team, that they should earn what they're rewarded with. But do we sometimes think and a lot of players now break into teams very early, but should 18, 19, 20-year-olds be earning 30 grand a week, 40 grand a week, 50 grand, whatever it is? Or should it be more of a structured payment system?
Well, it depends of the individual. If you've got an 18 or 19 or 20-year-old and he's a starter in your team and he's a one of your main players, one of your, your main assets, and then you've got a senior player who's on 400 grand a week, then he's entitled to earn 30, 40, 50 grand a week at that age.
If not more.
Yeah. And I'm sure at some point, Saka was on that. Don't forget, he's still in his early 20s.
True.
And then he was one of their main players. And then the club had turned around and said, right, we need to reward you and we need to keep you at this club. We're going to offer you this to give you what we think you deserve. And that's how, unfortunately, that's how it works. The players don't go in there at a young age and go, I want 500 grand.
No.
The club will reward you, and then from there, you negotiate.
And I suppose, this proposal that's going to be put forward, I think there's going to be like a 25-page dossier or something like that they're going to be discussing in November. There'll probably be lots of other things they discuss too, because that's what they do when they have their regular meetings. But I suppose this is all about trying to make it a level playing field at the end of the day, because
it's never going to be that. It's never going to be a level playing field because, like I said, you've got teams like Manchester United, Liverpool, who globally are absolutely humongous to a team at bottom of the table who've only got their base just around the UK. So, unfortunately, they're always going to be at a loss. And I think at the same time, that's what makes this league also special, because you've got a team like Bournemouth who are not bringing in any kind of figures that the big six are bringing in.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Brighton, but at the same time, still finding a way to manage to challenge and, be successful. And that's what makes it so special.
Yeah. Should we quickly hear from Simon Jordan? Just checking. Yes, let's hear from Simon Jordan, because, of course, he is gospel when it comes to all these sorts of matters. And it's fair to say he doesn't think it's something the Premier League should consider.
We can't stick the toothpaste back in the tube. We have made it the most globally successful league in the world by harming it now and taking away the very things that have made it so successful. People can have basic disciplines, by the way. They can have basic disciplines. They can control themselves. They can not spend. They can manage their businesses properly, and they can effectively control the disciplines that affect the outcomes that they want. And they shouldn't need someone on high, some arbitrary force telling grown-up businessmen how they should run their businesses. They shouldn't need that. They shouldn't want that.
So that's what Simon Jordan had to say on it. And of course, he makes the point that we've already echoed, in the sense that the Premier League has become such an incredible beast, really, that any kind of compromise that could lead to financial restrictions or financial change, which would eventually lead to some players going, do you know what, I can earn more money in Saudi Arabia. And as much as we all want to win trophies, we all want to be successful in our careers, some of them are money driven too, like a lot of us as general people. That, I suppose, that's just the issue that you've got with something like this being suggested, that are we going to see the Premier League as a standard drop because eventually those players will move on?
Well, it would. If you're capping the Premier League and then you've got teams in, La Liga and the Bundesliga saying, Munich, the Giants, going, right, okay, well, your club can't match this. I'm gonna, offer you a little bit more. The players will go, okay, well, let's do this. So our top talent will be poached and be taken if we're capped, and you've got a team offering 100 to 150 grand, 200 more a week. You'd be stupid to turn that away when you're also still playing in a competitive league. You're still going to get to play in Champions League football, not like going to Saudi. So yeah, I think it's ridiculous. Like Simon said, and like we kind of echoed as well, that the teams are doing it because they can. They're making profits as well. They're not giving out 300 grand a week and then putting themselves in a sticky situation. They're doing it because they can.
It's going to be a topic that continues to be discussed, no doubt. And if you have a thought on it, you can give us a call, 03717 223344. If it's not this anchoring system, then what does need to change? Why not get in touch? And it's a topic that's also going to feature on tomorrow's talkSPORT Daily podcast, as Simon Jordan, Rory Jennings, Harry Simeo discuss whether the Premier League should introduce a salary cap or whether players should be free to maximise their earnings. Download tomorrow from your favourite app store. I mentioned it before. We are going to get to it now. Are wingers a dying breed? That's next. This is Kickoff on talkSPORT. Pleasure to have your company this evening, and it is Jermaine Pennant and Natalie Sawyer with you. You've just been admiring Jermaine's lovely dog. Very cute, I must say. Nice fluff ball, which I love. Just to bring you some headlines for you. The Chelsea boss, Enzo Maresca, will be forced to watch Saturday's game against Nottingham Forest from the stands after being handed a one-match touchline ban following his sending off during their victory against Liverpool. He was also fined £8,000. George Russell's Formula One future has been confirmed. He will remain at Mercedes for at least another season. The British driver recorded his second victory of the year by winning at the Singapore Grand Prix just 10 days ago. And Rangers' under-19 coach Stephen Smith will take charge of the senior team for Saturday's Scottish Premiership match with Dundee United. Former Ibrox player Kevin Muscat is the favourite to become Russell Martin's permanent replacement after Danny Roll withdrew from the process. The latest manager to suggest that he is not interested in taking over. That following on from Steven Gerrard, who had been rumoured to make a return. But it seems as though that Steven Gerrard didn't fancy returning to Ibrox. Are you surprised at all about Gerrard not going
because
back there?
I know he loves managing.
And he was successful there.
Successful, yes, exactly. He knows the city, knows the team. I thought he would have liked to maybe get back into it. But, obviously, there's some life choices that's gone on. His daughter's had a child and he's a granddad now.
True,
that could come into play.
And how old is he to be a granddad?
47.
Gosh,
6.
wow. Sweet. Yeah, you're right. There are obviously sometimes other matters at hand, and perhaps he just enjoys being a granddad at the moment.
Correct.
And waiting for another job somewhere else. We're going to quickly just run you through the latest scores in some of the football that is taking place in the League One encounter. Huddersfield are taking on Bolton. Huddersfield's taking an early lead in that one, 1-0. They still lead. Bolton looking for a penalty there, but I don't think the referee's going to give it. Referee not having any of it despite the protestations. 1-0 then, Huddersfield lead, and it's a result as things stand that take them up to 4th in the table, doing really well under Lee Grant. There's also Women's Champions League football taking place, and earlier on Manchester United won 1-0 at Atletico Madrid. Both sides had a player sent off in either half, but it was crucially Manchester United then that got the goal and won that game. And the defending champions Arsenal are in action right now, and they lead their game at Benfica by 1-0. Different sources suggesting different scorers. One says Beth Mead, but UEFA's official website, who we're going to go with, says it's actually an own goal by Diana Gomez with the own goal.
Let's get Beth Mead.
Yeah, let's do it. That just after half time. So Arsenal leading by 1-0 in Portugal. Right. Shall we get onto the subject of wingers? I'm sure you love to talk about it.
Let's go.
That's where you made your mark. Recent news has shown that the traditional winger, and that's what we're talking about here really, is possibly on the verge of extinction. I'll tell you what, it wasn't that long ago we were talking about number 9s being on the verge of extinction. Now it's the traditional winger. I wonder if you all meet your wingers and go, come on, we need to fight back here. But when we're talking about traditional, it is more in the sense of a predominantly left-footed player playing on the left and a right-footed player on the right. Something that you would have done in your days, Jermaine. Whereas nowadays we tend to have more of an inverted winger, so playing on the opposite side to their strongest foot. So Mohamed Salah, for example, at Liverpool, Bukayo Saka likewise at Arsenal are current examples of those inverted type wingers. An average of 11 traditional wingers were used each weekend by this stage last season, but that total has now dropped to just 4.4 this term, which is a reduction of around about 60%. Only Bournemouth and Everton this season have stuck with the more traditional options. This is your chance to fight your corner. Why should we be sticking with traditional wingers?
Well, I don't think there's a right or wrong with a traditional winger or not. It just depends how your formation, how your style of play is. I'm sure if you put the players like Saka or Salah on the opposite wing, you would not see them come inside as much on their weaker foot. You would see them go down the line, get a crossing, pull it back in some way, shape or form. So the wingers they're not died. It's just that they've been changed because of the style of play nowadays. I think Pep's changed the way he kind of brought that in. He's kind of changed the way football is played. So, if you'd have put me on the left-hand side, I would have not been going down the line. My left foot would not be whipping in anything. It was literally for standing on. All right, it was my
trailing behind.
It would have been, so I would not be on the left-hand side, going. I would have done it if I had to, but I would have made sure I'll come back.
Wouldn't have been elegant.
It would have been pretty. It wouldn't have been nice. It would have been a floaty, dusty ball, backstick somewhere, no pace on it. So you automatically then, if I was on the left-hand side, I'd automatically chop on my favourite foot because I'd have more position on it and I'll put it where I want it to go. And that's really what we're kind of seeing. Well, the players like Salah, he doesn't like using his right. He will always try and come in on his left. So it's just that teams are just playing a different style of football now than back in the day where you had your Beckham just whipping it into your Ruud van Nistelrooys or me, Crouchy, the Barclays men, James Beattie, those kind of strikers are not here anymore. But the answer to the question is wingers are there. They're just getting employed a different way.
Do you think there could be an element of frustration from some wingers who perhaps are being coached out of the instinct of what they want to do?
Listen, you got to move with the times. You got to evolve with the game, and I think as a player, that's what you try and do. But there is players out there who still like that. Even when Madueke played on the right, I know he's predominantly left foot, but I watched him as covered one of the games, and he was just constantly going to the byline, to the byline, to the byline, and that's his weaker foot. So if the opportunity presents itself, players will still do it.
Yeah.
The best at it was Luis Diaz. He would go down the line and he would also come inside. And it was always a joy to watch because I was thinking, oh, yeah, a little bit of me in there. I'm not saying I'm Luis Diaz, far from it. But, getting to that byline and chipping balls in, it's still there. It's just the way the teams use the wide men now.
I mean, Antoine Semenyo is having a really impactful season for Bournemouth, but also just in general in the Premier League. He's playing on his favoured side as well. I mean, at the end of the day, some managers have to play to the strengths of their individuals, and clearly that's what Andoni Iraola is doing.
Yeah, and he's getting the best out of it. But not so that he can also use his left foot as well. So yes, you'll see him go down, but you'll see him come inside as well. But that's the way the game is going. But Semenyo is having one of his best starts of the season, playing on his strongest side.
Is the winger, in a sense, the most difficult role now because you're expected to do so much? Create, score, cause problems.
I think wingers now, with what we've seen over the years with the goals that Salah's getting, Saka's getting, all these wingers now we were chipping in with big numbers, they're kind of looked as strikers.
Yeah.
It's like, if you're not putting up plus 10 goals, you failed. Back in my day, it was all about, get the ball in, get one of the big men in there to, get on the end of it or get someone in, get on the end of it. And my focus on more assists. Of course, we always wanted to score, but my focus was getting that ball in, whipping that ball in. But now it's just changed. Like, you've got to be scoring goals.
Yeah.
As a forward.
Do you wish you were sitting on my right-hand side now?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can tell.
Yeah.
It's really difficult for you.
Devastated.
Just a reminder, after 10 o'clock this evening, Jason Cundy and Dean Saunders will be taking your calls on the Sports Bar. So get your calls into them already, 03717 223344. I'm sure they'll have plenty of antics for you to enjoy. You're tuning in to Kick Off on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18 and over, gambleaware.org. Coming up next, we'll continue to talk about the return of the football from the Premier League and the Championship in particular, and also focus on Sheffield Wednesday. A winding up petition has been issued. So where does that leave the club? We'll speak to a Sheffield Wednesday podcaster next. This is Kickoff, and it is Jermaine Pennant and Natalie Sawyer with you as we take you through until the Sports Bar, where Jason Cundy and Dean Saunders will be taking your calls. Just before we move on to the subject of Sheffield Wednesday, we're talking about the traditional winger. I wanted to read this message from Anthony from Wendover. He says, I think it's more that the tricky winger even doesn't exist anymore. One that takes on defenders and scares them. He said most wingers nowadays will cut back and pass back or sideways, for example. How many do the step overs or the tricks to beat their man? He's got.
I don't know. Sometimes, look, I understand what he's saying, but sometimes in a game, you know, teams now playing this such a low block, you have like 2 or 3 players in your vicinity and around you, you know, and you've got no choice but to cut back. But when it's one-on-one, you do see the players really.
Yeah, you're right. But you're also right in the sense of the tricky players that you know are going to be a handful. They are marked out of the game a lot of the time in terms of
it's very
numbers
rare
around
you see them with the opportunity to be one-on-one. You know, so it's a bit of both. I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. He's got an argument.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to that subject of Sheffield Wednesday then, because it's worrying times once more. As well as late payment of wages and a number of embargoes handed to the club, the Owls have now been hit with a winding up order due to money owed to HMRC, which could attempt to force the club into liquidation. Owner Defon Chansiri has repeatedly rejected calls to sell the club and has been an absent landlord over recent months, while the club have been suffering with their off-field punishments. So Wednesday fans no doubt are at their wits' end and understandably very concerned about the future of the club. We've seen on-field protests during their recent defeat to Coventry. That was the latest in a long line of movements designed to put pressure on the club's owners, which has also included boycotting matches. So what's next for them? Well, let's speak to a Wednesday fan and podcaster, Stevie Spence, who joins us this evening. How are you, Stevie?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you for being with us, especially after such trying times that you have been going through as a Wednesday fan. How are you feeling about the future of your club right now?
It goes without saying that as Wednesday fans, both from a sort of existential point of view, there's going to be concerns, but from an on-field point of view as well, that, you know, we're just worried. It's been happening for so long now. It feels like all we do is talk about, you know, the bad stuff. And as somebody who's involved in a podcast, you want to be able to talk about transfers, people coming in, movement on you know, on and off the field. But it's not been like that at all. And it's a worry, because when you hear that term of a winding up order, in its very nature, you think, is this something that could potentially mean the end? And then beyond that, we start worrying about potential liquidation, administration. I'm no football finance expert, but you know, you do know that the penalties potentially that will come with those. But again, you offset that with the sort of perspective that we're so far down the rabbit hole with this. Anything that we can do to get the chairman out of our club is, you know, can only be seen as a positive. So it's a really strange situation to find ourselves in.
Yeah. Also, is there like conversation of the lasting damage that this could have? As you said, you know, liquidation, administration, massive points deduction. You know, where will Sheffield Wednesday be? 'Cause it's a huge club, and if this continues in the long term, it could look dire. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, live, but
I think Stevie knows.
Yeah.
Right, you're not telling me anything I don't already know. To be honest with you.
Yeah, sorry, we need to tell you right now what it all means, Stevie. Yeah.
The conversations that we tend to have are really sort of, the worry is that we're, as a fan base, we're defunding him to the point where there's no money coming into the club. And if there's no money coming into the club, the major concern is, how is he going to keep the lights on? Because he's being really stubborn with it, and it's not like he's going to walk away. And there has been, as I'm sure has been well documented, there have been rumours that people have been willing to have a look at it, but they're just put off by him and his sort of his business mannerisms, if you like. If we get to January and he's still in situ, the worry is that he's going to continue to strip assets. We can't sign any players. We're blooding kids from the youth team that are academy prospects, many of which our best defender at the moment only signed his first pro contract in sort of July time. Hadn't kicked a ball until sort of middle to the end of September, and he's been outstanding. And then ironically, he gets injured and he's out again. But we will end up, because we can't replace, the players that we have lost. We're going to end up sliding down the league. That's the reality of it. And if we do get relegated, whether that be as a result of points deduction or because he just keeps sort of downward spiraling, League One's not going to be any better. And there's no sort of Birmingham model there where you're looking at a takeover and somebody potentially coming in and you're coasting up. The major concern is that it's just going to go from bad to worse. And having been down there 2 years ago, you can see how difficult it is to get out of there. And I've spoken on a podcast this evening to a Charlton fan who was talking about them spending 5 years getting up. It's not what we want for the club. And the other thing is, from a sort of a pride point of view, Sheffield Wednesday have never been in the fourth tier. We've never been relegated from League One or Division 3 or whatever variation of it that once was. We don't want to be there, and if we do end up down there, the major worry is I don't know when we're going to get back.
How admirable has the job been done by the players, by the management staff, when you consider all of these off-field issues that are affecting them as well? The fact that, as you say, as we've said, that they've not been paid on time, they can't strengthen their squad. They're now having to fear potentially about their current careers at Sheffield Wednesday too because of a winding up petition.
From an admiration point of view, you can do nothing but applaud at the end of the day. And this is with the greatest respect to the players that are going out there at the moment. Many of those players were fringe players last year that probably would have been looked to have either been moved on or spent a lot of time on the bench. They're coming in and they're putting a shift in for the club. There are players that have moved on, been sold on, have exercised sort of clauses in contracts to move as a result of non-payment. So those players that are there now, you can do nothing but applaud. Obviously, they're working with limited salaries, if you like. They're not getting paid on time. That's a major concern for the playing staff, but even more so, for those that are working behind the counters in the shop and the kiosks and everything else. That's where the major struggle is. And again, people like Pennant coming out and the players coming out sort of saying, look, don't pay us until you pay the staff that need it more than we do, I think is testament to them. It would be very easy for a lot of them that don't necessarily have ties to the club because they've only been here for a relatively short period of time to say, I'm not going to stick around and go through this. So the fact that they've stayed is absolutely fantastic. And it's also a testament to the job that Pedersen's done because he's managed to keep people here. They're staying for him. They've said we're going to stick around and hopefully we'll get out the other side.
Just in a word, Stevie, what do you think is going to happen?
Administration.
Really? Oof. Tough times ahead then. But ultimately, we have seen other clubs sadly go to the go by the wayside in the sense of bury, but they've all come back. I'm not saying that's going to happen to Sheffield Wednesday at all. It's a club that I'm sure many will fight for, certainly, to ensure.
If there's any silver lining, you're above Sheffield United.
There you go. The positive.
That's not gone unnoticed. It's not gone unnoticed at all.
Well, listen, it's tough. It's really tough for Sheffield Wednesday fans. It's been tough for a long, long time too. We hope it all gets resolved. I mean, this winding up order doesn't necessarily lead to Chansiri selling up. He could still, I think the hope is a winding up order prompts him to pay up the money that is owed by to HMRC. But, we'll have to wait and see what happens with all of it. But we wish you the best of luck and hope for a quick and speedy resolution. So thank you, Stevie.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, Steve.
Thank you.
Oh, don't forget, talkSPORT 2 is your home of the EFL. We're bringing you 4 commentaries this weekend from the Championship. Download the app to listen in. Next up, we'll look ahead to Sunday's Premier League matches, including a huge encounter at Anfield. This is Kickoff on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18 and over. BeGambleAware.org. evening. This is talkSPORT and this is Kickoff. It is Jermaine Pennant and Natalie Sawyer with you until the Sports Bar at 10. So just about 10 minutes to go until you'll be listening into Jason Cundy and Dean Saunders. How about this? We are giving you the chance to win £100,000. How do you do it? Well, you've got to listen up because, as I say, this is one of our biggest, if not our biggest ever prize that we've ever given out here on the talkSPORT and in fact across the whole of our sister channels as well. So you might want a pen and paper handy to write down how you enter. Listen up.
18 plus UK excluding Northern Ireland. For a chance to win, text the word cash to 83338 and you're in the draw. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You must have the bill payer's permission, or you can enter for free by calling 0330 880 3338. All entries must be received by the 6th of November at 4 p.m. This is a talkSPORT limited promotion run on talkSPORT, Talk and Virgin Radio UK stations. Full terms and conditions at talksport.com.
Best of luck. Right. Let's look ahead to Sunday's Premier League fixtures, shall we? And in particular, Liverpool against Manchester United at Anfield. It kicks off at 4:30. Hopefully it will be a cracker, especially when you consider the sort of situation both of these teams currently find themselves in. We'll talk about the hosts first. I mean, it's kind of bizarre to be talking about, oh, by the way, Bolton have just equalised and they're into, the second minute of added on time at Huddersfield. And Huddersfield have taken a very early lead in that game, but it's now 1-1. But we'll get back onto this game, as I say, at Anfield. It sort of still feels a bit bizarre to say Liverpool have lost 3 games in a row. I know it's all competitions, but Palace, Chelsea, Galatasaray, was it in between?
It was Palace, Galatasaray, Chelsea.
Yeah, exactly. What has happened to them in this period?
It's a Premier League. It can happen. It can happen to anyone. And yes, they're leaking goals. They're still trying to find their defensive structure that they lost. You know, their main goal was Trent and Robinson. Obviously, that's been makeshift, and now Kirkes has came in, so he's still learning. Yeah, you know, he's a great player, great defender, but he's still learning the way. And it's just the midfielders as well. That's changed slightly. So they're just trying to still gel. They can do it because we've seen them put in a clean sheet against the league leaders, Arsenal, at Anfield. So they can do it. They can, be sturdy when they're under a lot of pressure, like they would have been at against Arsenal. When they need to do it, they will. It's when they're being expansive, when they're going forward, they seem to lack a couple of big ball. Bro, I've got to stop talking. This is the Championship.
League One. League One. Bolton scored a second goal 2 minutes after their last goal, which levelled things up at Huddersfield. They now lead 2-1 with maybe a minute and a half left of the 6 minutes of added time, supposedly, although we all know it's a minimum of 6 minutes. But wow.
Players are absolutely shell-shocked.
Yeah, well, Lee Grant there shaking his head, not happy with the fact that they have just conceded another goal. And Arsenal have scored a second goal in their Women's Champions League match. This time it's Alessia Russo in the 89th minute that has made it 2-0 in Portugal. Sorry, let's get back onto Liverpool. There's all things going on.
I was just saying, they can do it. They can keep a clean sheet. They can be sturdy because they've shown it against Arsenal. So it's just a matter of time of it gelling on a consistent basis. But look, I'm not worried. I'm not worried at all. Well, yes, I've lost a couple of 3 games on a bounce, but they're only 1 point behind the league leaders.
But bear in mind, Arsenal play the day before, and they'll obviously know what Arsenal will have done. Let's assume Arsenal have won. Does this make it already a must-win?
I wouldn't say a must-win. Well, every game's a must-win in this league, but they won't be really taking note of that. They know there's a long way to go. There's a long way to go, a lot of games to be played, and teams will be taking points off each of one another. But you do want to win. You don't want to start falling beyond crazy. But we're seeing it change. Arsenal were 6 and 8, 9 points at one stage, and now they've turned a 10-point gap, and now they're a point ahead. So every game is crucial.
Yeah. I suppose, though, in a way, there's no better game to kind of get you back into it than against one of your old foes in Manchester United, regardless of how Manchester United are faring under Amorim right now.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, this one. It's you want no better game to play to really, get back on the front foot, get back in winning ways. But at the same time, this is not just one of those. This could go either way. Mm-hmm. Yes, we know United are struggling, but we've seen United last season and over the couple of seasons put in a couple of their best ever performances against Liverpool. They've knocked them out of the FA Cup. They came to Anfield and got 2-2, one of their best performances. So this game, it just elevates. Everyone elevates. Manchester United will be coming to this with absolutely nothing to lose, but everything to gain. They will be up for this fight. You have to. It's like a derby. So it'd be like going into a derby game when you're playing Liverpool and vice versa. And the way they approach it, are they going to be defensive, as we've seen, park the bus, as some would say, or are they going to try and win the game? Personally, I think they're going to be very defensive and trying to hit Liverpool on the counter-attack, because that's where a lot of teams have been having a lot of joy of late. But yeah, it's going to be an absolute classic.
So Jim Ratcliffe said, didn't he, that he said basically that Ruben Amorim deserves 3 years to get things right at Manchester United. Does that seem conceivable to you, that he should be given 3 years? I mean, we're talking about Ange Postecoglou after 7 games, that his position's being questioned.
Look, if things don't change this season, I don't expect to see Amorim next season in that dugout. Absolutely. Giving a manager 3 years, it's all good saying that, but you got to see improvement. Arteta's had 5 years and there's been a big improvement, year on year.
So let's take you back to the end of last season under Amorim and the season as how it started under Amorim at Manchester United. Have you seen any improvement?
Absolutely not.
Nothing at all. There's no glimmer of hope with this team.
Nothing's changed. Okay, they may go on and beat Sunderland. They may go on, but when it matters, they haven't really won. No disrespect to Sunderland, but you're expecting to get a result at Old Trafford against Sunderland. But they went away to your mob, Brentford, got turned over.
I was there, thank you.
So, last season was all questioning, saying, yeah, but it's not his team, it's not his signings, give him a little bit of leeway. Now he's had a full summer, pre-season, and he's got players in, and nothing has changed.
What about the new forward line that he has? And I know Cunha's been injured, but you've got Matheus Cunha, you've got Brian Mbeumo, you've got Benjamin Sesko as well.
Yeah, they look like they can now score goals, of course, because they've added quality players in 3 quality players you just named. So they're always going to look frightening going forward. Yes, last season we was talking about they're struggling to score, but now, yes, they can do that. But the fundamentals are still there. Their midfield still gets outrun. Their midfield still gets dominated. Their defence is still fragile. People can score goals. Burnley scored, 2 goals at Old Trafford. They can get got. So unless you start addressing that, okay, they've got a good a better goalkeeper in Onana. Until you start addressing some fundamentals at the back and working the way up, nothing's gonna change. It's all good scoring 1 or 2, but if you're leaking in 3s and 4s, it's no good.
I mean, I know you said you never know what can happen in a fixture like this, but kind of the way you're talking makes me think it's a Liverpool victory. It should be a return to getting back to winning.
No, listen, everyone's probably Liverpool are favourites, and I am expecting a Liverpool victory. But we saw, a couple of seasons ago when I think everyone thought Manchester United was going to get absolutely walloped, and it ended up to be a 0-0. It just depends if they've got the fight and make it very, very, very difficult for Liverpool. But we'll see. We will see.
Jermaine, it's been a joy as ever. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
We're going to be finishing now, but on the way next, it is the Sports Bar. Jason Cundy and Dean Saunders are awaiting your call. Do not be shy. They love getting you on. 03717 2233 44. Have a chat with the guys on the Sports Bar, which is next.